And we are live. What's good, everybody? Welcome. I really want to know podcast, man. What's good? Y'all know Uncle Saint likes to be on time. I'm 6 minutes late, which means I am really on time because I've been on some people's podcasts and like, bro, I've been on one podcast that was 6 hours late. So, hey, I'm trying to keep it there, man. How y'all feeling? Happy Thursday. I hope everything is going well. We have a great show lined up for y'all, man. We got a great show. We got a beautiful young woman that I met at a comedy festival here in Tampa. We had a really good conversation. Like, I was very intrigued. So I reached out to her. It's like, hey, would you consider doing the show? And she was like, yeah, I would love to. And she's here. Yo, we're going to have a good old time, man. I'm excited. It's going to be fun. Let's get into it. And we are live. What's good, y'all? Welcome. Did I really want to know podcast, y'all? Some indeed, man. So, hey, there's no need on waiting. Let's just bring her right on up. Here she is right now in the flesh, man. Jaime-Lee Simmons. What's good, babe? How you feeling? We got something for you.
Thanks for having me.
There we go. I got messed up my soundboard. I'm like, I need a producer, girl. I can't wait till I get this thing to a point where I can start hiring people because I need a producer. You know it's tough. You remember? Well, we'll get into it later. Because we got a lot to talk about.
Choir here.
Exactly. We got a lot to talk about. I'm gonna give you a one shot, and which I'm sure you know what that is because I'm pretty sure you know everything about the movie business and all that. We're gonna get into that, but I want you to tell everybody who you are, what you're about. And that quick elevator pitch, and then we'll get into it.
All right. What's up? I'm Jaime-Lee Simmons. I am a Miami stand-up comedian. I am the co-host of the Two Girls, One Blunt podcast. And I'm just out here living life, man. We're trying to get through the pandemic, and I like to make my content geared around helping people do that. So a little bit of fun, a little bit of serious stuff, and I'm the girl who does it all. Thanks for
Giggity.
The
girl who. So here's the question: Two girls, one blunt. That means next time I go to Miami, y'all gonna get Uncle saying hi, and we're gonna have a conversation. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what you're hearing.
That's what I'm hearing. Then we will make that happen. You might not know this, but you know I'm a stand-up comedian, but I'm a retired air traffic controller. So for 22 and a half, 23 years, no weed for me. And I was in LA, the LA area for the majority of the time. I worked in Miami International for 3 years, but I started in LA and then I finished in LA. I missed Miami. That was the hardest thing I ever did in my career was leave Miami. I
don't
missed
want
Miami.
Everyone's saying I have to. And I'm like, don't make me. I'm just getting settled in.
Girl, I miss Miami. We got, I just want to say shout out to everyone in the chat. Miss AKA ladies in the building. What's good, sis? Good to see you, sis. I'm so happy you coming to the show on the 22nd. Can't wait to see you. You bring in one of your people. It's gonna be fun, girl. Trust me, we're gonna take care of you. Let me know when you buy your tickets. I'm gonna make sure you get the best seats, but I need to know. Let me know once you get your tickets. Tell me so I can make that happen. We got Dr. B in the building, _84. What up, man? What up? And look at ladies always, I love your hair color, girl. That's how girls are. They just
thank you.
Dudes be just looking at each other like, yeah, man, you need to shave or you fat or whatever. But girls just be like, oh, I love this. I love that. It's like,
I'm going for if the Little Mermaid collected vibrators instead of forks, you know? I think I'm doing a good job.
I ain't mad at you. We got Brother Casual Germ in the building. Was good. He's like, finally some diversity, man. He's like, LOL, man, come on now. I know you just kidding because we always strive for diversity on here. But what he means is we got another pretty woman to look at and talk to. Dr. B is like, I'll be in Miami March 18th through 22nd. That's what's up. And like I would say half of my audience is like from the red pill space, but grown up red pill guys, and the other half comes from just normal mainstream media. Suzette Speaks and Melanie King and some other shows out there. They come over. So when the sisters come over, it's always lively. I'm telling you now, girl, it is gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I like it lively.
I bet you do. You know, like yeah, look at you. Here they come. They coming for you, girl. They ready.
Up?
You know what I mean? He's
I'm
like,
looking for a husband.
she so party.
Holla, 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 holla.
That's what they gonna be doing over here, girl. Look out. We're gonna definitely post your Instagram in the back chat for me, and I'll put it in the chat.
I was pulling it up on YouTube so I can do. Is that where you want me to post it? Right.
Because you know what? Because I forgot you're on your phone. I can put it up after or whatever, or I can look for it myself. I could try to do it while we're doing the show.
The Jaime-Lee show. Jaime.
There it is. That's where you can find it. That's where you can find it. Look at Dr. P is like, yeah, she's attractive, but I'm taking. They trying to get at you.
But you looking.
So let's get into this today, guys. We don't have any clips. We're not going to react to anything. We're just going to have a good conversation. Old comic to an up and coming, probably a newer comic. So how long have you been in the stand-up game?
So I started stand-up comedy July 2019, and I did it for like 8 months, the hustle every day. I started in New Hampshire, so there wasn't a ton of opportunities for me to get up on the mic, but would drive an hour plus to Boston almost every night. Then the pandemic happened. So I ended up getting a start in doing topless comedy sets on OnlyFans.
Are you serious? You said topless?
Topless comedy sets, yeah. And I was found by
Did you wear pasties or something? It was just straight up nipples, everything.
Nipples, everything.
Oh, girl.
It was well, you have Bert Kreischer. There's naked comedy shows everywhere. It's cool until somebody's profiting off of it, or it's not a drunk dude drinking beer doing it. But
look, him taking his shirt off was never cool. That was some white people shit. I'm here to tell you. When I was in LA when he would do that, he was at the comedy store and everybody started going laughing and whatever. And I would peek my head in. I'm like, is that what we doing? Because I ain't taking my shirt off.
I know. I did it for I raised money for charities. It was a fun way to make money during the pandemic and try to be a comedian and quit my corporate job. And then I ended up starting a podcast, which was Two Girls, One Blunt. With traveling and getting into entertainment and the social media route, I kind of went the influencer route instead of full comedy. I took a little break from stand-up, so a 2-year break to build the podcast. I got back into it in April of last year. So I'm realistically a year and a half on stage as of now.
Yeah, because have you ever met Godfrey?
No.
Well, when you do meet him, he'll, you guys will be chopping it up, comic to comic, and he'll ask you, he'll either say, how long have you been doing comedy? Or he'll ask you, how old are you? And what he means by it is every year you've been doing comedy that's your age in the game. So you will be 1.5 years old. So if he were to ask you how old are you?
I'm a baby.
Yeah, just the Tyler trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Someone like me, I'm like a 21-year-old, right? I've been doing comedy for 21 years, a little over 21 years. And I mean, I love it. So tell me, what do you love most about stand-up, slant, entertainment, period?
I think being able to have a platform that can help people. When you have a platform, you're able to reach more people. And I have a crazy family life story, and I have a lot of wisdom that I've learned from that. And so being able to translate that into a way that's funny or brings light to people's day for serious, heavy topics brings joy to me. So my dad passed away, and I do some dark humor. I have dead dad jokes. And while some people would be like, oh, that's the shock value, it doesn't sit with anyone. Multiple shows I've had 2 different women come up to me almost in tears. And they were like, my dad died a couple months ago, and he was the guy that I liked comedy because of. We would watch it together, and being able to hear you talk about that and make light just reminded me of him and the joy he brought me, and thank you for giving me that. And that moment is incredible, and if I could do that on a bigger scale with other things, it's gonna be great. I'm really excited.
So what's more important to you? Right? If I'm the comedic, I'm the comedy genie. You opened the bottle, it would probably be an old bottle of malt liquor or something. You opened the bottle and I popped out. Right? You get 1 wish, not 3. It's would you take the success the fame, the clout, the money, or would you take or the other side is you could just be real funny, you can help people and have nothing but experiences like the one you just gave us there, to the 100th power. Which one would you choose?
I would choose the second and the latter, and I did that already to an extent. Like I said, I got started in the influencer world as well. So when I was on that 2-year comedy break, I was hanging out in mansions with like celebrities, and I was living a life that I had only looked online because of my social media and really good networking. But I noticed that a lot of these people were doing everything for clout. I couldn't make real friendships. I couldn't have like real impact when everyone around you was fake. And I pulled myself out of that. I was just like, I want to do comedy and I want to make an impact and I need to relate to normal people. So I pulled back. I stopped, dressing like a hot girl as much online and doing stuff that people just do for clout, and started focusing on comedy. And my money significantly took a hit, but I knew that was worth it because I felt more aligned with what I was doing.
Okay. I'm with you on that. And obviously I'm not doing it for the clout or whatever. If I wanted to really make a run at the comedy thing, I never would have left LA, especially when I retired. I simply would have just rolled right into it and called up my successful friends and did all that. But I never wanted an agent. I never wanted a manager. I'm on the quest. I'm like that comedic knight. I want to have the perfect show. That's my quest. So when I put together a show or wherever I'm doing, I want it to flow right. I want the right comics. I want the perfect crowd. I want the house to be happy. You know what I mean? I want all that. And girl, it's been 20 years. And I haven't seen it yet. I've gotten close, but I've never actually, it's like the Holy Grail. I just can't quite get there. I can touch it with my tips of my fingers, but I just can't grab on. And that's why I do it. And you do help people. We're not changing the world, but it's just, like you said, the woman who came up and she was like, wow, that really struck home with me because I did share this with my dad and you just brought that all back. Thank you so much. That's part of her healing through that process. And I even have a story, which is a cool little story. And you want to hear it? Here you go.
Everybody sit down, please. It's story time. It's story time.
I like my sound effects. So
I like it. I'm here for it.
I was running a show in California. I was in the San Fernando Valley in Sherman Oaks. It was a great show. It was a weekly show, hookah. It was a hookah lounge, and it was great. I'm hosting. I'm doing my thing. I'm working the room, right? I'm doing my thing. And I noticed that there was a kid in the audience who was obviously gay. Now, this was 2006, 2007-ish, somewhere in there. So I'm working the room. So this is the big muscle guy who works out all the time. I'm messing with him. And then it was a kid in there who had these really big ears. I'm messing with him. And then there was a woman in there who was loud and like the drunk girl or whatever. I'm messing with her. And you can see that I'm obviously skipping over this young kid, this gay kid. And I made a decision right there on the stage. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to exclude this guy. So I start going in on him. You know what I mean? He's just like this little gay dude. And I was just going in. It wasn't raunchy. It wasn't over the top. It was just, hey, I was just doing hey and drawing out my S's and stuff like that, just having fun with him, right? Fast forward to the end of the show. I'm standing outside saying goodbye to everybody. And his friend, his female friend, came up to me, and boy, she was, waving a finger, young girl, and she was going in talking about anti-gay stuff and all that, which I didn't do anything. So she's saying all this stuff. He walks up behind her. He has no idea what she's saying. He walks up behind her. She stops talking. She gets out the way, like, you about to get it now, mister. And dude walked up to me. He was like, I want to thank you for including me. Wherever I go out, people, and then he was like, of course I'm gay. Hello. He said it. I couldn't stop laughing for 5 minutes. He's like, of course I'm gay. Hello. This cute young dude. He couldn't have been 21, 22 years old. And, he was just, I just want to thank you so much for including me. This is the first time in a long time that I felt a part of the group. You were messing with everybody and, thank you so much. And the whole time I'm just looking at the girl. You know what I mean? Like, just, you dumbass. I'm just looking at her. I didn't say a word to her. And that, to me, those are the magic moments in comedy that I strive for. That's what I look for. So I relate to you when you say we make little changes here. I'm not like Bert Kreschner and what's his face from 2 Man 1K when they're talking about
Tom Segura.
Yeah, Tom Segura. I mean, come on, man. Bert was taking it too far with the stuff. He's like, we're needed in the world. We're done. I'm like, come on, bro. You take your shirt off, you get drunk, man. You forget your punchlines. Like, who are you saying?
It's like the escape. I think for comedy, some people care about being the best comedian, and I guess I'm more like Bert in the sense where I care about showing people a good time and making them feel good. I think there's too much negativity in the world. I don't have the ego in it where I have to be considered a great comedian. If I can make people laugh and I can make people feel something and I can take them out of that place, that dark place that they might be in, and that's why they're going to a comedy show, then I'm fully happy, So
I get you. Nah, I want to crush. I do want. I'm a guy. I'm like, nah, I still want to. I'm good.
I just
don't care about the money.
I still want to be great, but that's not the only thing I care about. I give myself some grace as I'm growing and trying to get better. I'm like, people had a good time. They came out to me after. I'm on the right path.
You are on the right path, girl. And I'm just here to tell you. I remember when I had a year and a half under my belt. I still was like an open micer. Maybe like a senior in the open mic scene. I was just starting. People were just starting to come up to me and ask me to do book rooms and stuff like that. But it took me 5 years before I developed my first routine, like my first official bit that people knew me for. Like, oh man, you did that one bit about Mickey Mouse or whatever, and they knew me for that bit. It took 5 years just to get to that point, and the whole time. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry, I interrupted. I was just saying it takes a while.
It takes a while, and the whole time I'm in LA, like one of the hubs, and I'm at the Comedy Store, and I'm watching Sebastian Maniscalco every night at the Comedy Store. I'm watching Brett Ernst, I'm watching Sam Tripoli, Ty Barnett, Maz Jobrani. I'm watching these guys, and they have like so many bits, like they go from one bit to the next, to the next, to the next, and I'm like, boy, I can't wait to get to that point. And then once you do get there, then it's kind of like you shoot forward. And I one of the most proudest moments in my life as a comic is when those guys that I mentioned started coming up to me, say, hey man, you want to come on the road? Hey, you want to come down to Brea and feature for me? Hey, you want to go out to this casino and host for me? And you start getting a couple dollars or whatever. And it's never the money. I was never trying to control. I was well into the 6 figures.
There's no money in comedy.
Yeah, it's no. I tell people all the time, like, bro, you ain't gonna get rich doing this. At all. So we talked about what you love about stand-up and comedy. What do you hate about it?
I hate that the comedy scene is like high school. You think that when you get out of high school and you get into the real world and you're working a job and you're like, oh, we're all adults here. And then you realize that when you're in comedy, like everyone's fucked up. Like we're all fucked up in some capacity. Something happened to us. And then everyone's sober. And if they're sober, their vice is sex. And then everyone talks. And I'm like, stop talking about other people in comedy. Just go and get better at comedy. But there's so much of that. So you can't really escape it. When all I want to do is just go have fun, get on stage, and make people laugh.
And make strangers. I would agree with you there.
Also wish it was paid more. I wish someone was like, come do this set. Here's $500 for the night. But I'm not there yet.
Nah, the only place that I have even heard of people getting like $300, $400, $500 for a set is out in Austin now. And that's because Rogan is giving 100% of the money back to the comics. But everywhere else, come on, girl, you know what it is. You'd be lucky to get 25. I know some people who are doing sets for, a order of chicken wings and be happy hell they getting the chicken wings.
Yeah, usually I'm in the negative when I go to a show because I paid to get there, whether it's Ubers or whatever. I'm usually starving and running around from doing other things. So you grab a drink or a appetizer, and then you're like, well, now I got paid $20. I spent more than $20. What a great night.
Yeah, something wrong with my math. I mean, even my basic public school math and tells me this ain't working, but you still love it. Cause I mean, when I'm running rooms, people come to the room and you finally got to where you want it. It's a bunch of people in there, full house, You know what I mean? Now you're charging at the door, maybe not, but you got a full house, you're doing all this stuff. People are like, yeah, man, you must be making around $1,200. I'm like, yeah, put a negative sign in front of that, bro. You know what I mean? Like the $1,200 you talking about, come on, bro. I was spending $600 a week just doing this show for 2 months when no one was coming.
We just produced our first show under our comedy group that we're starting called That's Lit Comedy. So we're going to do shows in Miami and hopefully take that on the road as well. But the venue that we had didn't have chairs. You got to order chairs. We're doing it. We did it in collaboration with our residence building. So they didn't have chairs. The first initial venue canceled. So we lost all of our sound system. I lost the mics, the cords, all that. So I had a day, 24 hours to find mics and find all that stuff. Luckily, we could use some of the podcast shit, but I had to buy a mic stand and converters. We had to find a speaker. I paid the comics, and I had out-of-town comics, somebody who came from like Tampa, somebody else who came from Austin. So I had to pay them more than what I had to pay for their travel, you know? I'm like, I'll pay for your Brightline if you come and do my show.
Wow.
And so we paid the comics. And after all was said and done, the videographer, the photographer,
the post.
Help. Yep, we had a bartender help us, but luckily we got everyone sponsored drinks because it wasn't at a restaurant. So we were like going over the numbers, and we were like, yeah, well, and the advertising on Facebook ads, people don't realize. I'm like, there's a lot of money. We were talking about if we got like a $60K or $60,000. Like $60 million contract for our podcast, like Call Her Daddy. And we were like, people think you're rich, but I'm like, no, 30% to a lawyer, then 20% to an agent, then all of the random, you're taking maybe 40% of that plus taxes are taken.
I was gonna say, you ain't mentioned taxes, and Uncle Sam gonna get his.
Well, taxes come out after all of that stuff. But so it's like at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, you don't make that much of it.
You don't make that much. And then people like you just said, well, taxes come after. That's if you got a good accountant. You got to pay for that. Yeah. So even like all the money they're bringing you, which is your money, you got to pay them to get your money. It's insane.
Yeah.
But it's what we love. But, of course you can make it, guys. We're not saying this to say, oh, we're never going to make any money. There's a profit margin at a certain point if you do it right. But the dedication is insane. And you're the last person to get paid if you get paid.
If you get paid. Yeah, I'm not. That we're producing shows so we can start making money on it. Currently, like I do OnlyFans to make money, and I don't want to do that forever. It was good for the pandemic, but I'm like, all right, let's get sponsorships. Let's produce shows. Let's start a business outside of this. And making that switch is hard. And because I can't get myself to go back to corporate America. I'll never do it.
Yeah, when we get down to the dating, politics, and economy part of this conversation, we're gonna jump back onto that OF thing and corporate America and all that, because I definitely want to talk about that. That's when we're gonna slide into the red pill portion of the show. But that's not yet. That's not yet, guys. And just so you guys know, we were in Tampa at a show when we met, and y'all know how Uncle Saint is. I'm like, hey, you ever heard of red pill? She's like, yeah. And she's like, I'm in Miami. I'm like, you ever heard of Fresh and Fit? And she was like, yeah. I was like, it's about like, girl, what's up? Because them my boys. No,
I've hung out with Fresh, and I've been on Valuetainment. I've been on their podcasts and stuff, but they just started saying some crazy shit about Black women, and I was like, all right. If you start talking about someone deserves to get raped and these Black women are ratchet, it's hard for me to listen to you.
Yeah, and we'll like, again, towards the end of the show, we'll tap in on that, because a lot of that is the clips, and a lot of stuff is lost in translation. And as comics, we understand that. Like if you clip some of my content, some of my stand-up,
my Civil War clip, some people were like saying that was disrespectful. I'm like, if you actually listen to the podcast, it's getting taken out of context or making a joke that I'm an idiot. It's not about the topic, but that went over your head. But
yeah, I didn't see none of that. All I saw was the clip on your Instagram, and I looked at it real quick, and I'm like, what? I was like, what the hell? And for you guys wondering what we're talking about, on her Instagram, she put up a clip where she was on another podcast, I think, or was it your podcast? Or
it was our podcast, yeah.
You're on the podcast, and there was a question asked about something, but in the clip simply says that Jamie didn't know the difference between the Civil War and the civil rights struggle. That's how the clip plays out. Like she didn't know the difference between the civil rights struggle and the Civil War. Like time-wise, like the woman was like, well, Civil War was like 1867. No, it was like 40 years ago or something. She was saying like it was like 60 years ago. And that was the clip. And I'm sitting there looking at this clip like, okay, it's got to be some more to this shit. There's no way.
There always is. There always is.
But I thought that was funny. And I even considered like, I'm just going to pull that up. And I'm like, we don't need that. We don't need that. Brother Nidish is in the building. What is good, fam? Good to see you. Appreciate you here. That you're here. Like Dr. B was like, yeah, man, I do not miss high school. Most people don't. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. High school was not the greatest, at least not for me. There are a couple people who are like, oh no, high school was amazing and da-da-da. I'm like, I don't know about all that.
Yeah, those are the people who peaked in high school.
Right. Yeah, they won state, and that's it. They're still living there. That's where they dwell in their world. Like I'm still like, yeah, I just won state. Like, bro, that was 45 years ago, man. What's going on? Brother Scam Likely's in the building. What's good, man? This brother right here was asking me about stand-up and all kind of stuff. I'm like, well, what about this and take a class? I'm like, nah, bro, you want to do stand-up, you just got to get on stage and do it. You take that leap of faith, you throw yourself to the wolves, you fail in order to get better. And we live in a world where no one wants to fail.
Yeah, the hard part about stand-up comedy too is I was just talking to another comic about this who was like more established, and he was just like, you can't copy, you can never copy someone else and how they do it. The only way you can get better is if you get up and you figure out what works for you.
Yes.
And no one can tell you how to do that.
No.
It's literally, you just have to figure out how to be funny.
They can give you some pointers, maybe give you a tag on a joke or two, but they can't structure your joke for you, and they can't deliver it for you. I mean, it's so many components to go into telling these jokes.
Yeah, it's hard.
It ain't easy. What I mean,
I'm
brother? Like
clean comedy now. Like it's easy for me to write a joke and come up with something to riff off of if it's wild and crazy, because that's just my natural humor if we're hanging out. That's how I talk. So it's very easy for me, but I also don't want to just talk about that stuff and have dumb humor. I want to be able to be serious, but also be funny and talk about important stuff. And that's where my brain is like, all right, now we have to restructure. And I'm figuring out that part of how to write like a whole new clean set. But no one can help me with that.
No one. I mean, I can do clean material, but I prefer to keep it real. But I have had people approach me and say, hey, man, we want you to come do a set. We want to pay you to do this, but it has to be clean. We need, 8 minutes, 12 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is, clean. And the way I look, at first I was like, no, I refuse to do it. Like, nah, man, this is my art. This is what I want to do. But there is the business aspect to this job. And to me, you're not a well-rounded comedian. This is just my take on it. You're not a well-rounded comedian if you can't give the crowd what they ask for, or if you can't handle the business side. If you can't do a clean set, then are you really a professional comedian? You know what I mean? That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I remember when I first started to that I was always like, no, I'll just wear whatever I want. And I don't have to cover up. And I'm going to say, like, I'm going to be me. And it's not about being you. It's about being relatable.
Being relatable. And if your goal, like we said in the top of this show, if your goal is to actually help folks, well, that's a group of people you're not even going to be able to get to. You can't help them because you're refusing to do what's needed to get in front of them. And that's the reason I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do some clean stuff. I challenge myself every now and then. I'll do like 8 minutes of clean stuff at one of my shows just to keep sharp. But nah, and 99% of my stuff is raw dog. If y'all come out on the 22nd of March for our show, Comedy Arc Presents in association with Will Golson from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we're doing that show. It ain't gonna be clean. So just so y'all know, y'all coming in there.
Is that the one that I went to at the same place?
It's in the same place. Yep, that's our home.
I liked that venue a lot.
When you guys are ready, come up here. You have a home with us. We got you. We have multiple venues that we're working on as well, but that's going to be our home base. That's at Status, which is a nightclub, and you saw what we've done with it. We convert that for what we need for comedy. March 22nd. We got a big show. It's our first big show of the year. Life of Cash is in the building. What's good, fam? He'll be there on March 22nd. He's going to come out. Please like and subscribe. Yes, I appreciate that, y'all. Please like and subscribe. Isn't stand-up comedy key to a successful long-term career in acting, comedy, etc.? Depends on who you ask. I'll let you take a stab at this. What do you think?
What is it?
Life of Cash is wondering, isn't stand-up comedy key to a successful long-term career in acting, comedy, etc.?
I would say stand-up is very helpful. I think doing stand-up has made me better in other areas. I'm able to improvise more. I'm able to, like, you're acting on stage sometimes. Like, you act out a bit, or like you're pretending to be somebody else in a certain like area. You have to show emotion that you might not be feeling. Do you know how many times I've been crying before I got on stage, like crying, like horrible life events happening, and then they're like, "And Jaime-Lee Simmons," and I have to get up there and be like, "Hey, so what's up?" Like, there's a level of acting, and being able to have that skill is definitely helpful.
It is helpful. I wouldn't say that it's needed, nor is it, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't say it's
But
key.
you can't teach funny.
You can't.
So some
You
people
can't.
are an actor and they want to go into comedy movies or a sitcom. And unfortunately, if you don't have it and that personality, you know how to switch on and give them different things, then I think you will struggle. But so I think people who are doing comedy first have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to that part.
Yeah. So in Hollywood land, if you have an agent, you have managers both in LA and New York, they're gonna push you to do stand-up. For everything that you said, it kind of helps mold you. Whether you're funny or not, they don't care. But they're gonna push you to do stand-up. It gets you in front of folks. It makes it easier for them to sell you, which is what they're trying to do, is sell you to some casting agent. Like, you really want this person, go check them out. But like you said, you can't teach funny. And that really hurts the stand-up business in my opinion there. So there you go, brother Cash. And he's like, who and what? And I don't remember, because I'm way behind in the chat, just trying to catch up. This is when we were talking about Myron and Fresh. You're like, oh, here we go. We're gonna save that for last. we're gonna end with a red pill conversation. Because I think you're the right person to have it, because and we're gonna get into this later, but just real quick, when I talk about the red pill, I use that metaphor just like in the movie, directly from the movie. Comedians see what's really going on, the good ones. In order to be funny, you have to be aware of what's going on. We don't wear rose-colored glasses. Like, you're a comic, you drop your punchline and no one laughs, you know that shit just bombed. Right? There's no getting around that. Even though some comics try to cope. Oh, it's a weird crowd. They ain't weird now, man. Dude falling out of his seat laughing because the dude on stage is funny and you weren't. How is that cope? You know what I mean? For them, that's cope for you, homie. Get funnier. That joke never works. So you have to be red pill in the sense that you have to be aware of your surroundings and how the world truly works, as opposed to the way mommy and daddy said it works, or as opposed to the way you think it's going to work. So we'll get back to that later when we get into the hardcore red pill stuff. Lady Navoa's in the building. What's good, sis? She's just stopping by to say hi. Support, hit that like. Still resting up. Quick check with the fam, or check in with the fam. Oh my God, Fresh and Fit. Wow, yeah, she's definitely like, why you always talking about Fresh and Fit? Because they're my homeboys.
You're like, those are my boys.
They're my homeboys. I got to do it. Brother Dinosaur is in the building, checking in all the way from the UK. What's good, bro? He's like, whew, no red pill in the UK.
Welcome, Pearl. Isn't Pearl over there?
Yeah, but she's American. She was living there, but I actually met her. I met her in Brickell.
I was on her podcast as well. I met her a couple of times.
Over in UK or over when she was over here?
I did her podcast when she was here, and then I also did another podcast with her on Saucecast.
Yeah. See, I was talking to Pearl, and I was, even my own chat was like, bro, because I was like, I'm not gonna do any content with her. And some of my own people, like my day one guys, were like, bro, it's not about you, man. It's that's good content. That would be a good conversation. Maybe people will want to hear, because again, my whole thing was the Nick Fuentes. And she's sitting there saying that slavery wasn't that bad. And I talked to her about that. Like, we were at Empire in Brickell. It was Donovan Sharp was having his VIP get together, and Pearl popped in. And I found, hey, come here. I had to talk to you, girl. Like, what did you mean? And she stood on her square. She kind of, like you said, acting kind of like comics do. Like, we get on stage and we become an amped up version of ourselves. She kind of got in character. And I was like, no, you can calm down. It's not adversarial.
No, be real with me. Don't be in a character.
Yes.
That's what happens in this space, because I have literally gone on a podcast, we've been yelling, me and a grown man. And I'm like, no, that's dumb. And they're like, you're a worthless woman and no one's going to marry you. And I'm like, you're an asshole. And then we get off stage and we go pee, take a quick break. And he's like, that was amazing. You did so good. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, entertainment's not real. Nothing's real.
Say nothing's real. Like, dude, I'm trying to shank you. I'm looking for something to stick in your body. And you talking about, oh, that was great.
That's the real red pill, is recognizing nothing's real. That was mind blowing to look up to like superstars and celebrities and people, and then be in same rooms and be like, oh, you're acting.
So you are red pill. Oh, I knew I would get you there.
Oh, I'm so like conspiracy theories and all of that. I'm less red pill when it comes to like the traditional. I like traditional stuff, but I'm also not like women belong in the kitchen and you're a whore and worthless if you do something, you know?
I am going to bring you over, girl, just like Darth Vader.
Join me. Together, we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
Girl, I'm gonna join you. I'm gonna get you to join me. Like, join me. And when the soundbite was on, no one could hear you. So what'd you say again?
Oh, I said I'll suck dick and make a sandwich. I'm not upset about that. I just want rights.
We're gonna have a good conversation at the end, y'all. Stay tuned in. Don't go away, y'all. When we get to the end, that's what y'all really want to see. Brother Pitney is in the building. What's good, fam? What's good, fam? So I want to catch up with the chat real quick when we get back to the conversation. Casual Jeremy was like, I miss high school, mainly for my first relationship, but I miss my Marine Corps years the most. Yeah, bro, I miss being airborne. Once upon a time, I was in the Army. I was in the United States Army. I was a paratrooper. I served in Desert Storm. So I was out there doing that hood shit, and sometimes I do miss it. Every day I wake up, something hurts. It reminds me every day, like, yeah, you do make sacrifices. Your body pays. You pay the price when you're young, and then you feel it when you're old. Now that I'm in my 50s, I'm like, girl, everything hurts. Just last week, I couldn't use my arm. I don't know what I did. I couldn't use my arm for a week, girl. Don't get old is what I'm trying to tell you. Don't get old. But Scam Likely. I like improv better than stand-up, though I never done stand-up. I can't stand improv, girl. What's your take on that?
I just have fun. I think people take life way too seriously and then judge people for shit. Some people like it. I don't think it's the same thing as stand-up. I don't even think it should be compared, but I think it's a good skill to have. And I know a lot of good stand-up comedians who started with improv.
Yeah.
Like, just stop hating on what people do, you know? Just.
Yeah, my thing is, I'm not an improv person, and the improv is a slightly different art form, right? So, you look at rap, and then you look at like R&B, like vocalists. They're both entertainers. They're in the same vein, but their styles are distinctly different. And that's how I look at stand-up versus improv. They're both disciplines that you got to master if you want to get into them. It's just, I don't want to act, and I don't like becoming a different person. I like to become different variants of myself. So stand-up works for me.
Sometimes I like being a completely different person. Like, sometimes we make jokes on our podcast and I just say things just to say them. And I'm like, and people will get upset. And I'm just like, I was just saying it. I was playing a character for a bit.
Yep. And yeah, Dr. B was like, oh, I remember when she got kicked out by Donovan Sharp. And I don't know if he's talking about Pearl. I remember Pearl was at Donovan's event and they were cool. I think Pearl and Donovan are still cool, but what's her name got kicked out? Pixie or something like that. I forget her name. She's out of Miami.
Girl.
Yeah. Lauren. She's Lauren's friend. So Lauren was there. Pixie got kicked out. Uncle Saint was over there putting out the fires, and I didn't know who they were. But afterwards, when Donovan left, everybody was kind of vibing or whatever, and I got the full story. But yeah, Donovan was like, tell her to get the fuck out of here, because it was one of those things. She was, oh, that was just for the camera, and he was like, nuh-uh, get the hell out.
Oh, damn. See, that's the worst part too, is like, you never know when, is this for camera? Is this real? Are we actually friends? Like, what's happening? And that's kind of why I separated myself and went more into comedy, because I got out of the red pill space and I got out of the influencer space, and I was just like, it was too much to discern. I don't want to have to use my discernment constantly. Right,
especially when you be smoking weed. Like, look, I am not in the right headspace.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, bro, can you repeat that?
Yeah, for real, bro. Like, pass me that blunt, man. Last good man in Jersey is in the building. What's good, fam? Yeah, Life of Cash, man. Vader, I find your lack of faith disturbing. I'm gonna have to find that clip. I like that. I don't know if you're a Star Wars fan, but I am.
I like that.
I find your lack of faith.
That's such a nice way to say that.
But George Vader would say that, and then he would choke force you. So I wish that was a real thing, girl. I wish I could close my fingers and people just start choking. Oh Lord, that would be fun.
The world would be better if people got choked out more.
Wouldn't it? See, and just a little something, just something here. And yeah, Dr. B was like, yeah, no Pixie. That was Pixie that night. Dr. B was there. We were all there, man. It was like the VIP thing, man. It got heated quick, girl. I ain't gonna lie to you, but we managed to put that fire out pretty quick. Let's get back to the conversation. So in stand up, a lot of people say that women aren't funny, right? These girls, I'm sure you've heard it a million times, either directed at you or just hear people talking about it, and then they get quiet when you walk up because a lot of these dudes are, punk ass dudes. They're afraid to tell people what they really think. They'll talk behind your back. What's your take on that?
I think women can be very funny. I don't think all women are funny, but I think saying that women aren't funny is also wrong. I see that the people who are saying that women aren't funny are just men in general who don't see women's value. And it's not a requirement for women to be funny. It's more of a requirement for them to have a sense of humor in the eyes of men, I feel like. But I feel like it's a boys' club. And so when you have a funny girl, I've experienced it where like I may not be like a well-established comedian, but in the rooms and the bar shows that I do, like I'm considered funny. And I've gotten hate from dudes being like, oh, you only got this because you were hot or this. And I'm like, I started comedy when I was 40 pounds heavier and I had no social media. So I'm like, I had like 5,000 followers. Like, you only got it because of this. I'm like, shut up. I got it because I'm putting the work in.
So, okay, well, all right, I'll say this and then I want to address what you just said. When people ask me like, yo, man, you've been in the game a long time. Are women funny? Women aren't funny or are women funny? What the thing is? I say this. The percentage holds true for both men and women. Only a small percentage of people are funny. Of all the comics that's ever going to do it, has ever done it before, right? Only a small percentage of them are funny. And we're just making up numbers here. Let's say that 3% of comics are legit funny. Let's say 3%. Well, that number is going to hold true for women as well. And there are far less women in the game.
Yeah. So there's more, the women that do come in when they aren't funny, it almost like makes it look worse for the women who are funny. Because there's so many men and it's so oversaturated with men that people aren't even thinking about how many unfunny men there are. They're just like, oh, women came in and these ones suck. I do have to say there's certain women style humor that I literally, it's nails on a chalkboard to me, and it's not my type. It's they all have the same cadence.
Hey guys, don't you hate it when da 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 da? Oh yeah. My God.
Yeah, and it's the same thing when a guy gets up there and he just says a bunch of like racist, homophobic shit and is an asshole and thinks that's being funny. Anyone who does either of those cadences, I'm like, all right, that's a fact. So when we had this conversation, I tell people it's a percentage. Like whatever that percentage is, if it's 10%, 5%, 3%, whatever percentage is, it holds for both men and women. I know some very, very funny female comics. One in particular, Candace Thompson out of LA. I don't know if I know that.
She is a beast. I mean, she's so funny that dudes are afraid to follow her. Like she is a beast. Like she is not playing. You know what I mean? Like just a real comic, smart woman. She's beautiful, all that good stuff. She can roll with the homeboys, man. She get in there and slug it out with the best of them. And she ain't afraid to work. I respect the hell out of her. You know what I mean? Big Les, when, all that time she spent. Big Les, you say what you want about her comedy, but she ain't afraid. Like she's in your face. She's been doing it for 30 plus years. And then before she got her overnight success, they're like, oh, where's she come from? I mean, she's been in the game forever. And then she finally got on the Saturday Night Live and they're like, oh, overnight success. She's getting all these TV shows. Man, please. That one was out there in the trenches.
People have been in the game for years before they had that one break.
Yes. 30-something years plus before they get a break. So there's some funny comics out there, some funny female comics out there. For every Bill Burr, for every Sebastian Maniscalco, there's probably 10,000 dudes that just didn't make it. 10,000 dudes who never got past the open mic stage. Think about that.
And I think too, with like stand-up, it's as much as it is about being funny, there's so much to stand-up that you need to know outside of that helps you be an overall good comic. So it's like being marketable. Some people just don't have it. Some people don't have the look. They don't know how to connect with the audience. They don't know how to make people want to listen to them. They don't know how to read the room. They don't know how to, like, there's certain things, like I hear good jokes and I'm like, you didn't read the room to adjust it a little bit based on how they're engaging with you.
Right.
And so some people never know how to develop those skills either. Even if they're funny, it doesn't help carry them.
It doesn't. And all that goes into being a good comic. As a comic, if I walk into a room and I'm looking around a room and there's mostly older women and, maybe I'm in the Midwest, maybe I'm somewhere, like closer to people who believe in the God, right? It's certain material I'm gonna stay away from. I'm in a room and I'm like, you know what? I cannot run my lazy pedophile joke in this room. It's just not gonna work. You know what I mean? Or if I'm dealing with a bunch of people who just came from an abused trauma center, meeting or whatever, group meeting, or alcoholics. Alcoholics are different. I've done some AA shows
Those
and
are
they
the
want
best.
you to.
I was like, no, give me the former drug addicts and the alcoholics.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, they're different.
I can say
They're
crazy
rock with it.
shit, and they're like, I get it.
Yeah, they're different. But like the moms, the soccer moms, and the people who may have gone through some stuff and they don't know how to process it. It's like certain bits I can't run. You know what I mean? But you're talking about those comics who just don't read the room. Like, well, this is my 15-minute bit, and I'm gonna run it. And it's like, all right, you're gonna pay.
And they're like, no, I'm gonna make this work. And I'm like, I'm learning that too. And that's why I wanted to go the clean route and have that in my arsenal. It's less about me wanting to be a clean comic. I don't want to be a clean comic at all. Like, I'm just not clean in general. It's why I don't want to be in corporate America. I'm a walking HR violation. Like, I walk in, they're like, fired. And but being able to have that, because I've been in a lot of situations in Miami where it's Spanish moms and like older women, and I talk about like sex and crazy how I don't get along with my family. So if I'm doing comedy to people of a different culture who they value family and respecting the elders, and I'm telling jokes about fuck my mom, like all this stuff, it's not going to translate, even though that's real to me. And it does translate sometimes. I need to have something else to be like, okay, this isn't working. New direction.
Yeah, let me come off of this. Like, they are not going to get into like,
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. And that's all part of becoming, a good comic. So I wanted to ask you, it's funny you mentioned this earlier. I was going to ask you, is there such thing as pretty privilege in the comedy world? Have you noticed that?
Yes, for sure. Oh yeah. And clout. The way that I'm treated now because I have a podcast is much different. And I know that. And I've gotten opportunities that I'm not prepared for with comedians that people would kill to be on stage with and on a poster next to. And I've said no, because I was just like, I'm going to get up there and I'm going to make a fool out of myself. And everyone's gonna be like, why is she here? And then the only reason you're going to think of is because I'm hot or I fuck somebody. I didn't earn it. Either way, I don't deserve to be on the stage right now. And I've had to and some people don't know how to say no to that. And I'm like, everything is optics. Everything is perception. And I'd rather somebody think I'm funny than think I I don't know, use my looks. And that's why I have what I have.
That's funny. And Brother Pitney, he's got a point there. He's like, pretty privileged like who? Matt Rife? Well, now that you mention it. But that pretty privilege bit him in the butt. So what's the downside? And that's what I want to ask you too. What's the downside to pretty privilege, right? So how do you beat that stigma as a woman?
You be funny. You be undeniable. And there's no other way around it. You have to work 10 times harder than the men around you. You have to be funny. And that's why I just keep telling people, because I've heard it for me so much. I've heard it. And when I started comedy, I didn't look the way that I look right now. And I didn't hold the confidence that I had now. I had no sense of self-worth. That's honestly a big part of why I stopped, because I got many, I don't know. I got a lot of hate for when I got started. And it was like, no one wanted me to do comedy. But I was like, but I love this. And I was like, I just have to get better. I have to be able to provide value and show people no, I do deserve to be here.
You absolutely do.
And I'm hot too. Suck my ass.
Hey, man, there you go. You might get some you might get some takers on that one, girl. Be careful when you say that on this podcast. You can check your DMs later. Like, about that whole butt sucking thing.
I just talk shit. I'm actually like I'm 3 months like celibate. So I just that's why I talk about it so much. Cat.
What was that?
Oh. I already know.
What was that? Huh? What?
I hear Fresh and Fitz being like, that's Cap. Like,
yeah, I'm just okay. Well, if you say so. I'm just giving you a hard time. But I hear that so much. The thing about women who say they're celibate or born again virgins or whatever, I'm just like, okay. We shall see.
My roommate went for 2 years. I did it for like a year as well. And then the next guy I dated ended up being my boyfriend for a year. And then I hooked up with like a couple people where I was trying to like see if we were a thing, and it didn't work. And then I'm like, oh, no one's worthy. So then I go on these periods again of celibacy, and no one believes it because I talk about sex all the time on my podcast. And I'm like, guys, it's because I'm not having it. If I was having it, I'd be happy and not talking about this. I'd be I'd be curing cancer.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna segue into dating. That's a good segue for dating. But Brother Penny was saying, not throwing shade, Matt is generally funny. Matt Rife worked hard, man. He started young, and anyone who's been in the business knows, if you know anything about that guy, I mean, this young white dude who came up in the black rooms and doing this thing, and he's gotten where he's gotten, and he got in trouble for it, doing what he wants to do. That bit, that night, that special on Netflix, he opened up with they said that the domestic violence joke or whatever, and people were like, that was just, that was horrible. They didn't watch the rest of that set. There's no way they watched the rest of that set, because he was talking about retarded people with big dicks. And I'm here to tell you, bro.
He was talking about everything. I didn't think the joke, I didn't think the joke was bad. Like when people were just like, how dare you make fun of domestic violence? I'm like, I can't get over people who are soft. Like, grow up. Don't go to a fucking comedy show then. Go hold hands and watch your La La Teletubbies bullshit cartoons, and leave it for the people who want to have a good time. You're a joy ruiner.
That's the fact, because I'm like, that wasn't bad at all. And I'm like, you'll never want to come see me if that bothers you. Again, the stuff that I talk about, man, look.
Exactly. And people just want to undermine, Matt Rife is hot. Yeah, he had what is people consider an overnight success, but he's been working very hard to get that. And people are jealous. And when people are jealous and they feel like you don't deserve something, they're going to want that for themselves. And so the only way they can do it is undermine you and say that you're hot, and then like try to cancel you for something stupid. And I thought he handled that very well.
Oh yeah, that link to the helmets.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. I like this guy. I was talking to my buddy Doc Willis, is been doing stand-up as long as me, and he's cool with Matt. Matt used to feature at his shows. And Doc and I were talking. This is how I found out about Matt Rife, because I was, air traffic controlling and going through some stuff. I left LA, I wound up here in Tampa. So I missed all that. And I went around like, oh my God, this dude's like selling out world tours and everything. And then boom, that thing happened. And I'm like, yeah, man, give dude a break. He works hard. Life of Cash is wondering, what is acceptable to talk about in comedy in 2024? What is out of bounds? I'll start and I'll let you jump in after. As an old school comic, man, there are no rules. I'm a comedian. I'm gonna talk about what I want to talk about. If you want to cancel me, fine, go ahead, try it. I'm not in it for the money. I'm not in it for the clout. So you can't cancel me, because in that sense, I'm uncancelable. So long as it's funny, there are no boundaries. But if you're going to tap into something that's taboo, it better damn well be funny, because if it's not, you're going to have to deal with the fallout. So what's your take on that?
I was going to say, you can say whatever you want if it's funny.
Yeah.
And what's funny is subjective, but overall funny. I'm talking like, if you're going to talk about race, you're going to talk about like Israel and Palestine. Like, you better have a good take on it, and it's well thought out, and you're not going for like the lowbrow type of stuff that's easy. Like, have a real stance on it, make it funny, and make people think.
Yes. And that's the job of a comedian.
Yeah.
So my best friend is hitting me up. I'm supposed to talk to her. I'm like, y'all know I'll be broadcasting, man. I'm on live.
I would say I watched Ralphie May's stand-up like comedy class, and he like brought that up. And
you took a class. Wait. You took a stand-up comedy class?
No. It's an hour long. It's like a 2-hour long YouTube thing where he just talks about comedy. And someone told me it was a good watch, so I watched it. And he brought up about that because he has like offensive jokes and says some crazy shit. And I was like, all right, if I want to ever like make something, I just have to like really focus on making it good. And
that's the key. That's key. If people are laughing and it makes them think you've done your job, look at Bill Burr. You look at Bill Burr, you know, his live at Rare Rocks, and then you look at any of his stuff, and it's like, bro, I was telling people, I'm like, Bill Burr might be one of the first red pill comedians ever when you listen to his takes on relationships and abortion and all the rest of it. But it's all funny. His take on the WNBA, I'm sure you've seen that.
I love Bill Burr.
You can't beat that man as a genius. And it's like, look at Bill Burr. And people like, you have people out there who get mad and like they want to try to cancel him. And other people are like, man, just shut up. That dude's spot on. Yeah.
I'm from Boston. And like, if you're not from the area and understand how he's talking, like people take his tone almost as like offensive. So when he says something in that tone, they're like, do you know what I mean? But I'm like, oh no, that reminds me of home. Like that's just him communicating.
What I love is when Bill Burr, does a podcast and let someone interview him, like Nathan Klein, whatever his name is, and some of these other people, and they can't have a conversation with him. Have you seen these videos, these like cringy videos of people trying to interview Bill Burr, even mainstream media, and they don't know how to do it? Have you ever seen these things?
No, you're gonna have to send me.
No, I'm gonna have to pull one up. I'm gonna have to pull the shit up just so you can see it. And here's the thing. The reason they have such a hard time talking to someone like Bill Burr is because he's too real. And he's going to call you out on your bullshit in an instant. And they're so fake and fragile that they can't handle it. That's why I love watching that guy. I'm going to pull some up. Like, it is crazy. But Life of Cash is one of these, like, how closely does comedy need to adapt to social norms? What's your take on that?
I think the whole point of comedy is to break that. If you're playing it safe, you're not doing comedy right. Like I feel like pushing the envelope, making people think in a way that's not group think like, you know, it's like, hey, you all think this one way. Let me put another, I don't know, another perspective you might not have thought of. And a good comic can get them where they're like, fuck, they're right. You know what I mean? So I'd like to break that, make it more comfortable to talk about the taboo shit.
You have to, because if you comply to social norms, that means you're just like everybody else. A comic is supposed to bring light to the stupidness, right? Like this is just dumb. This is just dumb. You know, if you know, it's again like that whole red pill stuff or whatever. If you're pushing against the norm, no matter wherever you're pushing it, like the whole discussion about the WNBA. The WNBA, we need the NBA to give us more money. Like, oh, how about y'all just become more entertaining and earn the money? Like, what do you mean? You have to be able to push back and say those things and make people think. And when you do it, people get mad at you. You're mean and we're gonna cancel you. It's like, you still are losing money. We over here wasting your time talking to me.
If majority of like sports fans are men and they don't want to watch women's sports, it's the same thing with the majority of comedians and comedy fans are men. I think now it's becoming like a lot of women liking it and stuff. Thanks, Matt Rife. But you have to learn to how to also play the game and play. I think it's important to stay true to yourself and be who you are, but sometimes you have to know when to play the game. Does that make sense?
It does make sense to me because I'm a comic. I'm in the game. So, but to other people, they're just gonna have to make it make sense. Brother Dino wants to know if you saw Joe Coy as the host of the Golden Globes in 2023.
I did.
What did you think? He wants to know what you thought about that.
I respect him as a comedian. I think that's a very hard situation and room to do with uppity like celebrities, and I don't like, and it's less about his comedy or even the jokes being bad. I didn't like how he handled it and put it on his team. If you're getting up on stage and you're doing it and you're not taking the time to write your own material, and then you fail and then you turn and you put that blame, like it's, I don't know, a leader of a group takes the blame for that. They're like,
the
you know what?
the buck stops here.
What?
Like the buck stops here kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're at the top.
Even if you did nothing wrong, your group messed up. Like you're like, hey, I messed up. How do we fix this? Like, don't put those people under the bus because you didn't put the time and effort in to write your own fucking jokes.
Yep. I call that leading from the front.
Yeah, but also like it is what it is. Maybe he just wasn't the best fit for that, or maybe he got the opportunity late and there wasn't enough time for him. Like we've all been in those situations, and it sucks. A bomb is a bomb,
and that's what it is. At the end of the day, a bomb is a bomb. And you're right. If I were Joe Coy and I got that offer, I would have said no. You know, because that's like you just hit on it. It's not enough time to prepare.
Yeah,
I would have said I'm not
going 10 days to prepare. That's a huge deal if you're not ready for it. Like. And, you know, maybe you relied on the writers. You look at the day of and you see like all these jokes are shit. If I read those jokes and I'm a well-established comedian, I would either take the time if I could on the plane or in the hotel, or like sitting down, making my assistant write it down as I'm saying out loud how to make it a little bit better, because it's going to reflect on me at the end of the day.
Well, you know, that's real difficult to do when you surround yourself with yes men, and people in Hollywood do that. You know, I like Joe. I've met Joe over the years. Like when I was coming up before he got, you know, his version of fame, solid comedian when he was writing his own shit. You know what I mean? And like you said, and there's only one place to work your jokes out, and that's on the stage. And we live in a world where everyone has their phone. So it's hard to find those stages where you can work out. I mean, you look at these big award shows, the people get a year advance notice to get that routine down. I mean, I remember watching Chris Rock when the first time he was asked to do the Oscars. He was at every room, laugh. He was at the Comedy Store. He was at Improv. He was at Laugh Factory, working on that material. You know, now it's before everyone had a camera, they got HD camera in their pocket. But he was able, you sat there and you can watch him come in, work out the bit. His writers were in the back. They were able to take those bad jokes or those not so good jokes and work it out. You can't just bounce the ideas off of people in a writing room and think you're going to get on stage and work that shit out. I mean, it's the night of, like, live. It just can't happen. And then you're going to revert to stuff. And that's what gets you in trouble, because you're in front of the whole world. You just can't, I'm just going to start doing crowd work. That's not a good idea.
It's like I said, I got an opportunity to be booked on a big show, like I said, and I wasn't prepared. I knew I wasn't prepared, and I knew that would hurt me more than help me. And so I said no. I'd rather give that opportunity to somebody who maybe has been doing the work that deserves to be there.
Right. And you were spot on when you said that. And I was gonna throw that on there. It's like you were wise enough to know, like, man, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready to be on that poster standing next to that person. I'm not ready to be on this stage performing in front of however many people.
Yeah.
Like you're only a year and a half. Like, how am I gonna go in here and then you get that shot and you blow it? It's gonna be 3 times as hard now to dig yourself out of that hole. Yeah. When it's just best just to let that pass.
And don't get me wrong too. I think that there is also the aspect where when you do get opportunities that maybe you haven't earned or deserve, when to accept them and not let your own fear and self-doubt get it. Because there is a part where if you're getting asked to do it in some capacity, you have earned it. If it's, you know what I'm saying? And so a lot of people stop themselves from going for things, and the universe and God is putting these opportunities in front of you, like, hey, take this. And if you don't take it, you're just saying no to what you want. So I do think, like, I remember I was newer, and after I said no to that one, I got another one, and it was with Jeff Ross, Jessime Peluso, Brian Scalaro, Tony Rock, and me on the poster.
Look at you bragging. look at you name dropping over here, girl. I see you. I ain't mad at you.
But that was an opportunity. I got a call. I was supposed to be on the show before that, and then they had a show, and something happened where they had to cancel the late night show, so they merged the shows. And I got a call, and my friend was like, who was booking, was like, hey, I don't mean to scare you, but you're on the show. You're doing it. You're not backing out. get up as much as you can, but it's going to be Jeff Ross and Bill Burr. And so I was like, what? Like shitting my pants. Like I had 4 days before I got this call, and he was like, yep, we already made a new poster. This is the lineup. Like, you're in, you're doing it. Bill Burr ended up never showing up, but all like the other people did. And
you said, was it Tony Rock, Brian Scalaro were there?
Yeah, and just make Peluso.
The Peluso I don't know, but like Tony Rock I know well. Brian Scalaro's done a bunch of my rooms back in the day. That's when he was doing that Pamela, what was the name of the girl? Pamela something, the girl who did, what's her name again? She was with Jaime-Lee. What's her name again?
Pamela Anderson.
Yeah, he was on she had a hit show at the time, and he was on that show, and he would come out and do our rooms. I got nothing but respect for Brian. That's a funny dude, bro. That's a funny dude. And look at you up there with the big boys.
That was just one show I ever did, and I remember because I had said no to the other one, and I was like, you know what? This person's like, they were like, if you suck in it, that's fine. Just go it. Like it wasn't like a huge show. It wasn't like the room wasn't full. It was like a late night show. There was a couple people after me. I ended up having to go on after Tony Rock, and I did whatever is okay for where I was at. And
yeah, you did your job.
Yeah, and I remember Jeff after was like, "Hey, nice set." And at that point, I was like so scared that I was going to do that. And I was like, "Okay, I at least got acknowledgement to what I'm doing," and that gave me more confidence. I was glad I took that role, and I was able to watch that and be like, it gave me the fuel to want to get very good, because I was like, oh, this is going to keep happening where you do get opportunities that you might not be ready for. How are you going to show up and rise to the occasion?
Yeah.
You know,
that's what's up. I mean, that was a good move. If I were in your corner back then, if I knew you back then, I would have said no to the first one, like you said, you ain't ready for that. But this, I'm like, yeah, go ahead and give it a shot, girl. And let's just get out here. Let's get on stage. Let's get you a tight 6 or 8. I don't know what they had you doing, but like get you a tight 6 or 8 minutes and just go out there and just rock it out and see how it goes.
Yeah, I did like 7 minutes, and I was freaking out, and I did okay, and but that was the start that really lit a fire under my ass. So I was glad I did it.
Those are the good ones, and I did find this video of Bill Burr, awkward interviews. Girl, you gotta watch this. Let me share the screen. Hold on. I need to fire the producer. Wait, that's me. I can't fire myself. I need to hire a producer.
We're the same way with our podcast. Our cameras shut off every 30 minutes. So we have to tell our guests, hold on, and get up and hit them. And
that's hilarious. So check this out. Let's check this. This is Bill Burr and Ethan Klein.
It's too fucking weird to give out all that information.
Oh, you don't even want to say how many because you're afraid that it will
by all means
compromise
keep
your
talking
privacy.
about it. Is there anybody you can cut this out? I'm honest, dude. Like
seriously?
Yeah, no, dude. There's fucking lunatics out there.
Okay. Well,
off the air, I'll tell you.
All right.
Jeez. I love how surprised he is. Jeez,
well, you can mention the amount.
Absolutely crazy people.
Okay. Yeah.
Ethan Klein did this interview, and after the interview, he said he had to go into counseling. He asked Bill Burr, how many siblings did he have? Bill Burr was like, I don't want to put that information out there. That makes sense. Bill Burr's a big dude. He knows crazy people out there.
Yeah.
And that's the outway, because Bill Burr, he asked him, that's the one thing they didn't put in there when Ethan Klein asked him, how many siblings do you have? You have brothers and sisters? Like, yeah. How many siblings do you have? Like, he was like, I don't really want to talk about that. And that should have been the end of it. Yes. And Ethan kept,
I'm from Boston, so like men like that don't like scare me as much. If anything, I feel more safe with someone talking to me the way that Bill Burr was just talking, because I'm like, oh, I don't have to figure out what you're thinking. I can tell you're upset. Yeah, let's move. Let's go to the next thing.
Oh man, and again, I mean, I watched this thing, and Theo Von had an issue with Bill Burr. Again, these are people with low self-esteem. They don't believe in their own abilities. They're very, very fragile. And you're talking to a dude that's just like been through the ringer. Like, this is a guy like, what? You know what I mean? Bill Burr tell you to go fuck yourself in a minute. I mean, which is hilarious. But people don't know how to handle that. So, that's listen. and it's a little bit more. Let's watch just a little bit more. So I want to get you so you can check this out.
All right. I don't know why that got so flat.
You got
Come
one
on.
question to ask Don Rickles.
Who killed Kennedy?
You think he knows?
Well, yeah. Well, he hung out with Sinatra. I figure 6 degrees of separation. He's probably knows. Yeah, why not? Where's Jimmy Hoffa? I'd ask him one of those. You ask him 3 mob questions. One of them he's got the answer to.
You don't have any kids.
No, I don't. I don't like the way you said that. Like you said, it's very, you don't have any kids. No, I don't have any kids. I'm going to adopt.
That's nice.
I'm going to rescue a couple of the children that work till 4 a.m. to put this. They make them catch it when it rains. Okay, and you have to stand out there until it's full.
So you got to get Bill Burr. The first chance you get to interview Bill Burr, you got to get it.
I love to.
The Ethan thing, and Bill Burr will do, like, if he sees you and he thinks you're a good comic, he'll do your podcast. I mean, he's a cool dude. Like, he really loves comedy. If he texts you, like, all right, he sees you working hard, and hey man, could you possibly do this? It might take a while to get the schedules linked up, but if he says he'll do it, he'll do it. And yeah, girl. And that, like I said, bro, someone was asking about comedians. Brother Penny wants to know, what was it like meeting Bert Kreschner? Have you met Bert?
Yes.
That's for you.
Yeah. Yeah, he's cool. I didn't meet him for long. We were in talks about him coming on my podcast. And we've been chatting for, like, randomly in the DMs. I was just like, hey, saw you were in town. I got tickets to your Fully Loaded festival, and I'm going to bring my entire podcast set. If you have time, I would love to pay for your transportation and come. And he was like, hey, I would love to come on, but I'm going to be super busy. Why don't you bring your podcast set to the stadium for the Fully Loaded tour, and you can just interview all the comics? And it ended up not happening. But 2 weeks before, him and Rachel Wolfson were on a podcast, and they, like, shouted us out. And so that's when I DM'd. I was like, I'm going to message him now because it's hot in his mind, and be like, I'm going to come to your tour in Atlanta. Can we pod? It didn't work out. We ended up doing street interviews and doing, like, Fuck, Marry, Kill, Bert Kreischer, Joey Diaz, and Mark Norman. And so that did well. And he was like, hey, I saw your clips. That'd be great. Still would like to come on the pod, but the schedule thing didn't happen. Came to the Hard Rock here in Hollywood. I messaged him again. I'm a saleswoman as well. And I'm not like up anyone's ass and stuff, but I'm like, hey, you're in town, you free? And he was like, no, but come, here's tickets to my show. And we, like, come hang out after. And so I just briefly met everyone in a room, and we talked for like a minute or two. I met him a couple of times. I also met him at his OnlyFans roast premiere party. They did a roast of him, and they put it on OnlyFans TV. And so I went to that party in LA, briefly met him, and that was it. But not like close or anything. Like very, very like not attached. You know what I mean?
Yeah, girl, you sound like you a cool kid, girl. I call the cool kids the Hollywood insiders. I call them cool kids, like the producers, the actors, the directors, the managers, the people who are behind the scenes. I call them cool kids. And you starting to sound like a cool kid. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
So when you grow up poor, you learn to be resourceful. And I didn't have the money to go do things or get opportunities. So all I had was my personality and talking to people. And I noticed in college, I was like, it's not about how smart you are. It's not about the grades that you get. I was like, all these people, I'm like, what rich people and successful people all have in common? I'm like, oh, they have a network. That's how, like, when you are rich and you have kids, they're Nepo babies. They can get opportunities because of who their parents know. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to build that. So I just focused on, like, networking, but also when you're networking, you have to be able to provide value. And me and Emily building the podcast is valuable. If we can show, hey, we got 12 million views on Facebook this month or whatever, there's value there. And I think a lot of comics, like, there's a skill with that too, of like being successful in entertainment is, do people like you? Like, do people think you're cool and want to be around you? Like, are you fun to be with off camera? Are you a good person? Like, are you someone I can trust, you know? And not putting anyone on a pedestal like they're better, like I don't fangirl over these people. I'm not like, oh my God, I love you.
That's the key.
I'll make the jokes like, oh, I love you. I wish you were my dad. Bert, will you please adopt me? Like, but I'm not literally like, you
Yeah, but
know,
that
and
right
so-
there, like you say that to the wrong dude. Like, I wish you were my dad. Like, ooh, stepdaddy thing. Yeah, so you gotta be careful around these dudes. You know what I mean? You got, and like you
I
said,
just
like,
want to be adopted and I want to be a part of the family. Him and Leanne are
okay,
amazing.
you gonna get a part of something in the family. Trust me, girl. You gotta be careful with that. I'm just saying. Just saying. There's a lot of dirty old people out there and some young dirty old minds out there. But yeah, but I get where you're coming from. I mean, that's just keeping it 100. And you said like growing up poor, you had to learn to be, you said resourceful.
Yeah, just like I had to be valuable outside of like, you know, like I started going out. I started like networking and I started going to networking events and meeting people. Like this is when I was in sales. So I'd meet other business owners and they would refer me to other business owners so I could make more sales. And I sold digital marketing. And so in 2020, when I quit my corporate job, that's when I took it to do it myself. And so I had the sales thing. Like there was men. I remember I had a client who like friends with Barbara Corcoran, owned a multi-million-dollar huge luxury real estate company. And he was a hard ass, like Bill Burr style. Like no, everyone was afraid to work with him. And I'm 25 years old. I'm a year into like sales. I am a top sales rep, but this guy is a successful business owner. And I'm sitting having a conversation, having to be like, listen, buddy, you called me. Like, do you want my help or not? Like, don't put him on a pedestal. Like, talk to him like he's a human being and be real with him. And
that's hilarious. So you're in there screaming, y'all screaming back like, oh yeah, that's how you feel about it. Yeah, go fuck yourself. No, you go fuck yourself. And everyone's like, she's gonna get fired. Next thing you know, you like to, you know, you're getting all
and
kind
the
of
guy's
bonuses.
like, you're the only person I want to work with. All these people lie to me and like because they're scared of him. And I'm like, you just have to treat people like real people. There's so much value in that.
That's the key to Hollywood. When people ask me, like I've bumped into some A-listers in my time in Hollywood. I mean, away from comedy. This is just me hanging out as an air traffic controller. I'm working at an airport where all of the private jets fly in and stuff like that. So it wasn't like an air carrier airport. Like Van Nuys Airport is where all the rich folks fly in. You know, Dan Bilzerian, you know, Steven Spielberg, you know, Tom Cruise be flying. Bill Burr was flying through the airspace because he's learning how to be a helicopter pilot. I'm talking to all these people on frequency, right? And what I learned about Hollywood, if you get an A-lister and you have a conversation with that A-lister and it's just a conversation, a normal conversation like we're talking right now, they don't want you to leave their side because they're like, finally, it's a real person and they don't want you to go away. They're bugging you for the conversation. And this is exactly what I'm hearing from you now, right? And it's certainly going to work with the comics. You know, it's like, man, she's not trying to hit on me. She's not whatever. She's being
not
professional.
asking you for anything.
Not asking for anything. She's cool. Like she offered to go buy me a drink. Like, yo, what's going on? Because you're networking and working the business in, and he or she is just kind of like, wow. I tell you this, like I knew Whitney Cummings when she was coming up before she got the shows and stuff like that. Her work ethic is similar to yours. She was always on the scene. She was always working, writing, doing comedy, trying to get her jokes up. Yeah. And when people started talking crazy about her, I'm like, man, I saw her coming up, man. I saw her in the trenches. She was shoulder to shoulder with us. She did. She really did. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
She's amazing and so kind and sweet to female comics coming up in the scene because she knows what it's like to go through. And yeah, she's very sweet.
That part I didn't know because whenever I saw her, it was always, she was in the trenches with the dudes. She was learning, taking notes, trying to figure out how to be funny, and it translated into who she became later. So it was the girls were afraid to mix it up with us. And that's when the Comedy Store was rough. The Comedy Store was like Fight Club. Nothing worked in there. Like I can't tell you how many fights I got into, like real fights. I mean, the Comedy Store was crazy, but that was our world. And Whitney was one of the women who weren't afraid to mix it up. Sarah Tiana, another one, she wasn't afraid to mix it up.
Good things about Whitney, and like she's the type of female comic who she's so up here, but she'll find somebody, and if she likes you and you're younger, like she would take you under their wing and she'll treat you with respect and talk to you like not like she's condescending or above you. I've heard that, I've experienced it, and I think she's great. Yeah. That's
crazy. Look, Brother Penny's like, dudes would love you to call me daddy or something like that. Yeah, you can call me daddy anytime you want.
Not like
that's what
that.
dudes
Y'all
be like.
took it such a wrong way. I'm literally like, my dad died and I don't have one, and I love your family.
But that's the thing. You know what you mean.
Yeah.
But the guys are hearing something.
They look at me and they're like, she said daddy. I'm like, God damn it.
Exactly. But it is what it is.
You can't
So
win here.
no, you can't, girl. So let's, speaking of not winning, let's get into dating. Let's get into dating. Because I don't want to take too much of your time. I thought we'd be done in an hour. We're already an hour and 20 minutes in, girl. You realize that? So I mean, I'm cool. I just don't, I want to be respectful of your time and all that. So dating, yo, what is it like, especially for you? Because you said you were 40 pounds heavier. What was the difference between? I'm assuming you were less attractive. Is that what you were trying to say when you were 40 pounds?
I was. I think even when I lost the weight, I didn't have a good sense of self-worth. I don't think I had as much of a backbone. I didn't understand boundaries or how to like uphold them. So I would surround myself with friends and people who like didn't really care about me. And I could, like, someone would be like, hey, you're my friend, or hey, I like you. And I think that they're being serious and they're not. And I didn't want to be alone. And so I was heavier and I'm like, I'm still me, but now as I've glowed up from within, like energy wise, like how I hold myself.
Okay.
And I'm way more confident. I think dating is harder because of that. Like you would think it'd be easier because I like myself now and I'm confident, but it actually, it made me realize how small the dating pool is. Add OnlyFans, add female stand-up comedian, like add that my job is social media and I'm online. That makes it even smaller.
Okay. So now we're into the red pill portion of the show, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is what y'all been waiting on. We're into the red pill portion. So that part right there, you said that it's not the same. Like, so the dating pool, you said about the dating pool being smaller. I would argue that the dating pool is as big as the Pacific Ocean. It's just the standards that women have. You've heard this argument. The standards that women have eliminate the vast majority of dudes. So I'm sure you've heard that the red pill community says this all the time. The majority of women don't see 80% of the available men out there. Would you agree with that or disagree with that?
Well, once I got into entertainment, that changed it's proximity, right? Like who you're around. And so I think when I wasn't in entertainment, it was a little easier to date like normal dudes because I'm just around them all the time. Now I'm not really meeting like normal dudes unless I'm like meeting them out, and I'm not really going out much.
But I would say my pushback to that. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So like the options and I think that's why I think it's smaller. I do think as well as I got standards, I realized that none of the people that I was giving opportunities to before even hit those. But I'm okay with that because those people who weren't hitting those standards were making me emotionally unwell.
Right.
And like not treating me right. So when I started going a little bit, best thing that's ever happened to me.
Okay. So you didn't answer the question, and that's really good because you're really sharp. I like that, girl. So would you say then that, again, the question still stands, do you think that, not just you, like think about all women, do you think that most women, especially single women or women who are out there looking, do they see all men or do they see just maybe like the top 20, top 15% of dudes that they find attractive? In other words, when I go out, if I go to CVS or Walgreens or McDonald's, and let's say a woman like you was dropping fries or stocking the shelves at Walgreens or CVS, I see you. You know what I mean? I'm gonna say something to you. Hey girl, how you doing? How's your day going? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna holla. You feel me? I don't care that you work at Walmart. I don't care that you dropping fries at McDonald's. All I see is I see an attractive woman. I'm gonna see what's up with her. Test the waters to see if she's open to a conversation. Bam. My female counterparts, I never see them doing that. I was like, oh, I know this good guy. He's Uber driver. They're like, nah, I'm okay. You see what I mean? So by doing that, you shut the door on the vast majority of guys.
I think men do that too, though. With women, like you want the girl who's not going to say anything. You want a super pretty girl. Then there's all these expectations and standards of what makes like a feminine woman, like that type of divine feminine, like that you'd want, you know what I'm saying? Like we all have standards in a different way. And I've seen it as well. Like I know I'm a good person and I know I'm loyal. I've never cheated on anyone. And like I said earlier, like I'll cook for you.
Mm-hmm.
I give head unannounced. Okay. I make sandwiches. I leave you the fuck alone because I have my own life. Like all these things that they say they want, but then they look at one thing and then they're like, I can't get past that. And it's like, you're missing out on a good person because you can't get through like something that doesn't fit a list for you, maybe. Like people are like, I could never date you because you're on social media and you get too much attention from men. And I'm like, but none of that matters. Like I'm doing a job. If you know my why and why I'm doing it, then it shouldn't matter. So it's like, I think it's everyone's insecurities. I think also people date outside their boundaries. There's so many girls who are like, I'm going to find a man and they're going to pay for everything. And he has to be super rich. And I want to live this lifestyle. But I'm like, when's the last time you got a pedicure? Yeah. Did you learn a recipe on how to make scones? like, are you bringing that to the table? Do you know how to communicate so that you're not arguing? Like, do you know how to be a partner? Like, there's so many things that both sides, I think, there's a disconnect and we both want this and we're just mad at the other side. We're all fucking up dating for each other.
Well, okay. And I'll give you that. Like, and that was going to lead to the next question, because on that one, on that percentage of men that are invisible to women, like the vast majority of the men, 80% of men are invisible to most women. I gotta tell you, I do believe that's the case, and the only reason I say that is because I see it in real life, anecdotally. And then you can kind of look at, everyone likes to bring out their stats or whatever, like the Tinder stats and all the rest of it. But I do see women completely ignoring or not seeing some really good men. And to your point, yes, when you get to those guys, the higher tier guys, the guys who are making six figures, the guys who have done the work, and they, the guys who have the nice cars, the private jets, the yachts, the penthouses. Yeah, those guys are going to be picky as well. But what those guys
they're
are
not
doing,
even picky. They're surrounded by so much new puss every weekend, and they got girls cycling in because they don't have to commit because they use their money and their looks and all this stuff to get in. So it's like, those are the ones I actually like want to be like. I want to stay away from. I've had a very, very successful man like offer to fly me to Spain and do all this. And I'm like, I knew what was expected of me had I taken that trip, and the lifestyle, the yachts, the classiness, all this shit would have been great. And I was like, oh, I would have to fuck you, and you're not actually interested in getting to know me. So I don't care about your lifestyle.
Right.
And people, I say like, oh, once that girl travels and whatever, she doesn't want to put up with shit. And it's like, it's true, like that you can't use the fact that you live this cool lifestyle to get me to come out and fly and have sex with you and you not commit to me, unless that's what I want in that time. If that's what I'm looking for too, then perfect. Like, but I wasn't at the time. I would rather the dude. That happened, and then I had a guy who literally was going through some shit and didn't have a license.
Yeah.
And I dated him for a month, and he had no money. He had no license, but you know what he had? He had good character and a great personality, and I had fun hanging out with him. Like,
dude had a little bit of game. I tell people all the time, they had a little.
He had a British accent, so
that's what it was right there. British, New Zealand, Australian accent. He's in Latin accents. You get like Rico Suave come up in there. You know what I mean? Or French accent. You ever come across a dude with a French accent?
Yes.
Yeah. Y'all see that? Y'all see that look, fellas? Y'all see that look? Telling you, y'all want to be exotic? Go to France.
Get an accent.
No, you have the accent. Go to the country where your accent works. Go to France. Go to Germany.
I went to Spain and they loved me. The red hair and the American accent. They were like, "Oh my god, I love it."
Yes. So, but to your point, and I hear this a lot when we see these conversations, like you said, whatever podcast, Fresh and Fit, Saucecast, you name the podcast, they talk about these things. Bless you, love. They talk about these things. And dating has suffered greatly for it, right? A lot of people say it's because of feminism. A lot of people say, no, it's because of red pill. I mean, there's plenty of blame to go around. I'm the guy who's like, I'm in the trenches. I'm the old dude who's been around. I'm an old soldier. I've seen it all. Back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, it was harder to get women for the average dude. I mean, even for dudes with game, I had a little game, it would be harder because women would, you know, they weren't as free. They were going now today, women like they gonna throw it back, man. Like Sexy Red and all the city girls, and they gonna get it. And I mean, today, as a 50-plus-year-old man, it's never been easier to smash. I had women just lined up, they ready to get it in. It's never been easier. And I tell you, and I see these young guys who can't get access. I'm like, bro, it's never been easier. And here you are not getting on. So it just shows me that women are focusing more and more on the more top tier guys.
I feel like, but I think it has age as well, right? Like you could say for men, it's like stand-up comedy. You're in the game for 10 years, and then once you're in it, you're successful. Like you hit it off. You're surrounded by beautiful women or whatever. Like as you grow and you start hustling and making money and doing things, that's when men peak, is when they're older. When women peak is when they're younger. This is what people say, I would say. So it's harder for you to date as an older woman because we have the same problems. We're just looking at it different and blaming the other people.
Yes. But I would because it's like you really don't want to accept the most men are invisible to the vast majority of women. And I get it, but they are.
I see so many women who are so invisible to men. I literally feel like that was me for a long time when I was growing up and I was younger. I always had the girlfriends who, like, all the guys we'd hang out with a group of guys and everyone would come and talk to me about how they wanted to hook up with like my friend or they wanted to do this. I was like, is no one seeing me? I'm a good girlfriend. Like I'm a normal average girl, but I don't look like a model and I don't look like this. So I'm being looked past. And those people would get played by the pretty girl who's talking to all the dudes. Like, I think there's a lot of really good women out there and we're blinded by Sexy Red and Cardi B and think all women are like that.
Well, my pushback to that would be to your point. You're out there, you know, you're a little heavier, still cute. You know what I mean? You're hanging out with the cool kids.
I was skinny back then, like when I'm talking about this.
Okay, so you're skinny, even better. So
yeah, I looked like a little bit like this, just younger. And
so guys were coming up to you to holler at the other girls, right? And you're like, they're not seeing me, right? They're using me as a strategy to get to the girls that they really want. But here's the thing, little Stevie from 5th grade algebra, you know what I mean, back in middle school or elementary school or middle school. He's seen you.
But
he wants to holler at you.
Well, I don't bite unless.
But okay, well, hey, that's what I say, man. You know, but I may nibble a little bit. I don't know about biting. I'm like, you know, I don't break the skin. But the guys who have the game have no problem coming up, making the approach. You know, guys understand like it's a numbers game. So they're just gonna talk to, you know, woman after woman after woman after woman. If I talk to 100 women, I might get 3 that sleep with me, right? But the dudes who have no game, those invisible 80 dudes, right? The invisible 80, they don't even know how to approach. Come on, how many awkward comics have you come across at open mics and stuff like that? Like truly, like, why is this dude around humans?
So many.
Right. So that's the vast majority. And that guy, those awkward guys at least had the balls to go and do an open mic and put themselves out there. But there's legions of dudes like that. They are truly invisible. So I guess we'll leave it there. Like, you know, I'm gonna come down to Miami. Hopefully we can sit down and talk and delve into this a little bit more. But I'm in the camp that the vast majority of women are overlooking 80% of men, and they're all chasing the top tier, top 20% guys. And for me to get in that top 20%, you don't have to be rich. You don't have to be driving around in a Lamborghini like Fresh. Right? You don't have to have a successful podcast and be Frank Castle and people like Myron. If you're just a regular dude who knows how to approach women and talk to them, do what we're doing now, that puts you in the top tier. Because just like you said, you had that one dude, he was a broke, he didn't have nothing, but he had you, at least for a month, right?
Yeah. I would say too, like there's women out there.
Oh no.
Did we lose it?
You're back. You're good.
Oh,
you were saying there are women out there who
like for me, like when I wasn't getting talked to by guys and like getting that type of attention, I guess I was like, okay, I read books. I was like, how to talk to guys. How do I'm like, I don't know if I'm just like too autistic or something. Like, I don't know what's not working. So I read books. I was like watching YouTube videos on like, this is before I got red pilled or like in that space, but watching like how to use your feminine energy, like to get what you want from a man. And it's the same outcome. It's the outcome you want and the same thing. You just approach it differently. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm just approaching it differently. But I had to like learn and read those books and then go on dates and be like, let me practice what I learned. Like it was like a science project.
You're the first woman that's ever said that to me. I've never heard a woman say that she had to self-improve on how to meet men.
Because I didn't want to. And I was like, what's wrong with me? I was like, I think I'm a good person. I'm just like being overlooked. And I was like, maybe it's not there. Maybe they're not the problem. Maybe I'm just approaching it the wrong way. And
that's fascinating. Now, of course, there's the rule and then there are exceptions. Maybe you fit into, obviously you fit into the exception. I've never heard a woman say I went out, read books to self-improve and went out and get YouTube.
I know so many women who do that. We just don't tell you guys because then you'll make fun of us and think we're weird and desperate.
I will absolutely make fun of you and use my evil Jedi powers to get the cute girl to do some nasty stuff with me. No, I'm just kidding. But no, but dudes will use that against you.
They will. They'll be like, oh, you like need to read to find a man. Like you're doing it wrong. And I'm like, no, I'm actually learning something. Steve Harvey told me. Think like a man.
Steve Harvey is the worst example.
I know, but I read his book. I was desperate.
I didn't know that was a thing. I really did. Now, is my premise off? Do most women shoot their shot at the top tier guys? Is that premise off? And you've heard that a million times in the red pill space.
I feel like sometimes it's easier to go for shit when you're like, that's so crazy. It would never happen. So you're like, I'll just throw it out there for somebody that you're like close with or in the same area. Like it's going to be way easier for me to shoot my shot with a celebrity or a rich man I've seen online or whatever than it is for me. Cause if I'm like, oh, nothing happens if it doesn't work out. But the guy I see at the gym all the time is like the normal dude that we make eye contact and it's cute, but we're like in the same vicinity. Like I'm going to be less likely to go up to him and be like, hey, I think you're cute. I wonder if you want to go get coffee. Cause then like now I have to see you every day at the gym if you say no,
which is the man's world, right? I mean, that's what men have to do.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this then. Who has a harder time, you think, dating? Men or women? Is it more difficult for men to be successful in the dating world, or is it more difficult for women, in your opinion?
I think if you don't understand like the opposite gender, it's just equally as hard. I think we're just approaching it like differently. I hear constantly like there's literally podcasts made. The red pill space was made because men are having difficulty. Right now, the generation of men is the most lonely and single. Like they're having issues. And then you have women who are now all going on celibacy journeys and kind of taking their power back and not like no longer being sexually promiscuous and holding these standards. And so we're overcompensating for like the damage that has been done in like the dating world due to hookup culture. And it's making it a little bit difficult. And I'm just like, if we just go back to men feeling okay to come up to women and not women being like, you're gonna assault a man, just talk to me. The amount of women I've seen do that stuff. And I'm like, this is why you're single. Like that person's a nice person. But I remember I went out with Emily and I had a really, really hot, like bleach blonde, fake tit, like beautiful model friend. So it's me, my roommate, and her. And we were at a bar here, and like a normal bar, not a club or anything. Like we're just like normal dudes.
You talking Wynwood? You talking Wynwood, Brickell, South Beach, Kendall? Where were you?
We're at the Wharf.
The Wharf, okay.
And when I tell you, this has never happened like this, but every 30 seconds, a new dude came up and tried to talk to us. And we were genuinely there just to have fun and like go dance. We were not there to date or do anything.
Yeah.
it was dudes from all levels. I was like, wow, these people have balls. And it was almost to the point where I couldn't have a conversation with the girls at once without being interrupted. We were not able to hang out without being interrupted. And the girls were getting really upset. So a guy would come over and be like, hey, I think you're really pretty. They'd be like, get away. Like our girlfriend was so angry. She's like, leave me alone. And I had to turn to the guy and be like, I'm so sorry. It was really nice of you guys to come up. And I know that that's hard to do, but we just haven't been stopped being harassed, and it has nothing to do with you. And I was like trying to do damage control. So I've been in these situations where it's like, it's just hard. The dating space is hard.
It is hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. My take on it, it is definitely easier for women. You just gave us a perfect example. Granted, you guys are out with a dime. You know what I mean? And then y'all are
But there's
looking
been
good.
nights where I go out and not a single man talks to me. And I'm like, damn.
But that I would say that is the majority of nights for most men. Whereas that might be a random one-off or whatever for you, but for a guy, I can go out. Well, it's different for me because I'm older now. And the way I go out and the way I look and the places I go are different. So when I go out, I'll have women comment on my outfit. Like, I don't dress like this in real life. Like, if I go out, I look like a proper gentleman, right? So, and I'm talking nice hats, I'm shaving, ties. Like, I look the role. If I'm in Miami, I'm probably wearing linens, you know what I mean? I got on all of the accessories. So a woman would compliment me on my cologne, or, you know, hey, she'll compliment me on my watch, or, hey, is that, you know, or those shoes such and such. So I'll get women who will, you know, come up and talk to me. But the average guy doesn't get that. And when I was younger, I didn't get that. You know what I mean? So I would definitely argue.
That's actually my move on men. Because
Word?
I am an aggressor. Like I got to the point where I was so annoyed. I'm like, no one's talking to me. So like, let me go talk to guys. Let me, and what's like the easiest way to do that is like, you just compliment them. I'm like, oh, I like your style. And I'd make eye contact with someone from afar. If they keep looking at me, I'm in. As we walk by each other at the bar, I'm like, hey, love your style, like love your shoes. I hope you have a great day. And I walk away. And like 9 times out of 10, they'd be like, I would go to a guy and I remember I would say like, you are one of the most attractive people I've seen in a very long time. Like, I just hope you have a good night. And I'd walk away and those guys would be like, wait, no one's ever complimented me before. Come back. And it
So
would
you
work.
go out and you actually holler at when you holler, like just holler, holler, holler.
If I'm in the mood, but like I'm at a point now where I don't want to have to. I want someone to see me and be like, her.
Well, you're gonna get that. It depends on where you place yourself. Miami,
It's
people
hard.
like to say, yes. See, you know, when I talk about Miami, I'm not talking about South Beach. I'm not talking about Brickell, Wynwood. I'm talking about Doral, Kendall, Miami Lakes, Broward. You know what I mean? Even as far down as Homestead, right? I'm talking about them places. And I tell people all the time, the women in Miami are playing fair. And what I mean by that is it's not as difficult to talk to women in Miami when you compare Miami to other major cities. It just because there's so many beautiful women.
Yeah.
Right. So you're proof positive of that. Here you are, you're a very attractive woman. You know what I mean? You're cool, you're down to earth, you get it, you understand the landscape. And you're telling us how, like, yeah, I gotta go out here and compliment guys, and I gotta go out here and talk to these dudes just to get their attention. You know, whereas LA, women ain't trying to do that unless you're a celebrity. New York, women ain't trying to do that unless they think you're on Wall Street. You know, and I could go name the city and I could go on and on and on. So, but at the end of the day, it is harder for men. Men need to understand how the game works. Men need to understand that an attractive woman such as yourself, you know, on a balance of probabilities is not going to approach you if you out there, you know, you stink, you're not clean shaven, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know how to dress, you're hanging out with a bunch of weirdos. Why would she come and approach you guys? You feel me?
Yeah. Sometimes people don't even realize that their energy makes them unapproachable. It's not that you're a bad guy. It's not that like you're, you know, it's that I think that's also was part of my issue is when I was insecure and like my energy that I gave off gave insecure, which is not of value. I am not valuing myself. And people can read that.
Yeah, some can.
those average people who maybe don't have the confidence. I'm going to tell you right now, an average dude who makes no money and has a great personality and knows how to work a room, they don't have a problem getting pussy. But an average dude who's like insecure and is like, oh, I don't know if anyone likes me. We smell that on you.
Confidence is the number one indicator of who's going to get on and who's not. It's not your money. It's not your height. It's not your physicality. You know, all those things are qualifiers. It's nice if you driving a Rolls Royce truck, but you can't drive that truck into the bar. You can't drive that truck, you know what I mean, onto the yacht party if you happen to get on there. So confidence is the number one thing I tell dudes all the time. You're absolutely right about that. How many crypto millionaires or trust fund babies have you seen, dudes who had zero game?
Some.
Zero game.
There's a lot of men in Miami who are just like nerdy, normal dudes who like made it, and they have the right community and friends and circles, but they have no idea. But women will also just throw themselves at them, and they don't have to get better.
Women don't. And again, when I tell you, you're the first woman in my life I've ever heard say, yeah, I went and got books. I went out and did research. I worked on myself so I could get on with dudes. I've never heard that in my life.
It's rare.
Yeah, it's rare, but I know. But
we out here. We're the minority.
But again, it's like for me to call cap or whatever. Even in Miami, when we were at the event, it was dudes trying to get at you all night long. And I saw you actually being polite to some of the dudes. Like, you had to let them down easy. Like, all right, calm down. You had a couple guys, you know what I mean? The little puppy dog dudes that, you know, come walking up, and you handled yourself well. Because I sit back and watch.
I didn't even notice that as like people hitting on me. I was like, oh, they're just all comics and we're all friends.
Oh, they were 100% hitting on you, girl. Stop it. Stop it. I thought you did some work. All of them. What you mean, who? Maybe two of those dudes didn't. Maybe two of the guys who were there did not. And that was just where we were. I wasn't even what the other places. I don't know what happened in St. Pete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come on, girl. Every dude. And this is what I mean about women not really seeing. They might physically see that there's another human there, but they're not seeing.
But I'm like, when those dudes are doing it and like they're hitting on me, it doesn't mean anything to me because I'm like, oh, you're just trying to fuck me.
Well, but that's in that part and parcel with the game. It doesn't stop there. Most dudes, that's just, they know if they get to that point, they'll get into a relationship, hopefully, and that'll lead to whatever the next step is going to be, which in a lot of cases now is marriage. But the vast majority of guys, think about it, 33% of men out there from 18 to 29, they're not even smashing. They haven't had sex. Think about their virgins. Think about that. Think about that. But the women in the same cohort having sexual intercourse and intimacy at the same levels that women have always historically done it since they begin, since the beginning of the beginning. You see what I'm saying? So it is harder for men. Even in your case, we're talking about a one-off or like we're talking about an exception. I would call you an exception where you were
harder for women to find an emotionally intelligent man who genuinely cares about them outside of the physical or what they can do for them. I think that's harder. It's way easier. I could date anyone I want right now, and it is way easier for women, like in terms of the options for me to fuck and date. It's just those aren't good options. They're not quality options. So it's still hard for us to find quality options. I think overall it's harder in general for men to even have options. But when you put past somebody who's just trying to use me and they see me as like a sexual object or someone like I have red hair, like I'm a fantasy, like they're not coming up to me because they're like, oh, that's the girl I want to take home to my mom. For the most part, they're like, hey, we're at a strip club in Tampa at 1 a.m. doing a comedy show. Let's see if she's DTF. So I don't even notice it. Like I notice the good intention people. I can notice that off the bat. And I'm like, oh, hey, I perk up. I'm like, okay. But
it's all game. And for the record, Status is a nightclub. It's not really a strip club. They do this strip clubby thing on other nights. That's not us. But you're right. I was like, you went to a strip club?
It gets strip club vibes.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. There's a portable pole stage somewhere in that club. I'm just saying. It's giving off more than vibes. Wonderful 34 is in the building. Yeah, you saw that. Wonderful 34s in the building, man. I saw you when you jumped in, man. My bad. I didn't get a chance to show you give you your flowers like I always do, man. Appreciate all my day ones. We're definitely having a great conversation here. I'm showing all of the chats, but I'm not going to be able to read them. We got Brother Smith was checking in from Australia. Good day, good day, good day. I see you, bro. Thank you so much for coming through. We're a small channel over here, girl, but we can be mighty. We're getting there. We're going to get up to y'all numbers. I'm going to keep working with you when we get off camera. I definitely want to keep working with you. So here's the thing. The game, and I tell this to women all the time. I'm hearing what you're saying, but I would argue that most women fall prey to game. There are dudes out there who will give you that relationship vibe, who was really hunting just for the Foxy Brown. I call
Yeah,
it
and that's
Brown.
my problem because I keep finding those dudes.
That's the game. The dudes that I'm
Like,
talking about, yeah, the guys who will give you what you are looking for, or the dudes who are not as gamed up. You know, like we're gonna talk about the OF thing in a minute. To certain dudes, especially the higher tier dudes, that's definitely gonna be a turnoff. You know, like OF, exotic dance, you know, like stripper, call girl, that sort of thing. That's gonna turn off the guys who have options at the top. But the dudes at the bottom, because think about it, like the top 20%, top 15% of dudes, they're going to be real picky. But the guys at the bottom, those guys who get zero or hardly any access to women, especially attractive women, those dudes are like, they'll sit down and like, okay, girl, you gonna stop dancing? Oh, okay, you only gonna dance on Tuesdays? Those are the guys that'll work with you. Right?
See, I find the normal dudes are the ones who have an issue with it. And the guys who are like, because the spaces that I'm typically around are with people who are making money or hustling. And those are the ones who are like, yo, I see your drive. I see like you're one of the good ones. Like, who cares if you do this? Because the reason I got into OnlyFans was like, I was poor. Like my dad was a drug lord. I raised my brother and sister. Like I've put myself through college and I was struggling financially in a hole. I saw the marketing opportunity. I didn't go against my boundaries. Like when I started for the first year, I didn't do anything crazy. And I was able to take my money and get my brother out of homelessness, pay for him to get an apartment, to come down to Miami, get him clothes, put clothes on his back, get him his first mattress, do shit for him and help him, and then use the OnlyFans I'm doing to make connections to now I have a network where I can help my family. I want a man who looks at that and is like, I see that as value because I'm going to do whatever it takes for my family. I'm willing to sacrifice myself and my reputation and whatever it is. And if someone's going to judge that, then they're not for me. Do you know what I mean? And so
I do.
So, and not everyone's doing it for those reasons. And I think that's why just having discernment is like really important. But the guys who are successful, they real recognizes real. And so they take a look at what I'm doing and then they're like, makes sense. Like, kid, I get it. Like, and those are the ones who are trying to pursue me.
I think that's where the game comes in. I think that point right there is where the game comes in to play. Just from the other side of that is the guy who's around the top tier dudes, and I get to hear the locker room talk. And I know when we talk about game, peep game, a Jedi gonna recognize another Jedi, right? So a lot of that is cap. Yeah. Like, yeah, I got you, girl. Like, a lot of that is cap in the sense that dudes recognize in not you per se, but in some women, they see it and they're like, you know what? I'm gonna tell her, like, yeah, you go, girl. I'm gonna tell her what she wants to hear so I can smash.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna let her believe that this is going somewhere so I can continue to smash. And then I'm gonna say, hey, what's up with your girl? Can we do this 3-way? And then it's gonna be drama. I thought you was da-da-da, because you've heard the old adage, all's fair in love and war. There are people out there who go out there and there are no rules. They're gonna lie to you. That's their game.
Yep.
And then you got guys out there. Me, I don't lie. I've never wanted to lie. If I'm dealing with a woman,
so much more pussy if you don't lie. Like if guys are just like, hey, I'm trying to fuck, I feel like that works better.
That's not true, but it can work. I mean, it's all a numbers game, but that's not
confidence.
True.
It's the like how you hold yourself. You're like, yeah, I do this. If you're down to be a part of this world, then come into it.
So to walk up to a woman and just be like, I just want to take you home, bend you over, blow your back out, you know what I mean, come on you in less than 3 minutes and then put you out the house and never look you in the face. She's not going to do that. But that's what's going to happen if I come up and run my game. And then when it comes down to the question, you know, maybe a few weeks later, maybe a few months down the road, when she has that, what are we talk? Like, you just the girl I bang. Like, you're my sex doll.
That's why I went celibate. That's why I went on that journey, because I didn't know how to discern from somebody who was genuinely there for me, and that's why dating became so hard, and that's why people are getting bitter. It's like, we are getting lied to. I've had people fake full relationships with me just to have access to me, and like, that's hurtful when you know you're good, you're good intentioned, you know.
But
and
that's
so
the game.
going celibate, I remember, especially going out like to a house party or the club or whatever, I was doing that while I was celibate. And so I was decentering men from my reasoning for going out. Like, I wasn't going out to get attention. I was going out to have fun. And when I was going out to have fun and I let every guy know I'm celibate, get away. like, and some guys would be like, oh, okay. And they'd walk away because they were like,
well, they just don't want to put in the time.
The
Like,
time.
dude, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I was able to watch men, and when they weren't trying to fuck me, they were more open about how they were going about fucking other women. And I was like, oh my God. I was watching, I remember there was a group of guys and they had a house party every like Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. And these guys were hot. They were like the hot, successful people of Boston. And I watched these guys have different girls every night. And I'm one of the bros that's hanging out, crushing beers, and we're watching like football and stuff. And so I'm seeing these girls come in, and I'm like, oh no. And I see how they talk to them. And I was like, oh my God, Jamie, you were that stupid bitch. Like, I was able to like take them off their pedestal, see their game. And that's when I started reading books to be like, how do men operate? And how do I get what I want out of this as well? Because it is a game and it is like a hustle. We're all trying to, get what we want, I guess.
That's exactly what we're trying to do. It is a game. Men and women are absolutely different. I mean, you've heard this a million times. You've heard it on Fresh and Fit. You've heard it on Saucecast. I've met Adam. I know Vinny from Cali. You know, Vinny's a comedian. I've known Vinny for years, and I recently met Pat. But with Adam and his show, I'm not quite sure what he's doing over there. You know what I mean? I'm not quite sure what's going on. And obviously, you know, people like Donovan Sharp got a problem with him. MLD, which I'm not a big fan of MLD, but he got a problem with him. People, you know, dudes like, well, we're getting ambushed over there. Like, well, you know what I mean? Like, bro, you stand your ground. But even Sochnik, his game, he was that guy. He was the successful bro who could get you. He has access to all the clubs, has access to nice properties. Has money. He's doing the same thing down here in Miami, crushing it. Been crushing it for decades. You know what I mean? Like, what's his game? He could sit there and just engage in banter, mindless banter, to get her to feel like she, you know, he's going to marry me. And then she's like, you know what I mean? And that's the game. That's the game. Brother Pitney, you're right. Men and women are different. You've heard this a million times. Women are essentially born with their value. They just have to maintain that value as best they can, where men have to create their value. And you said this earlier in the stream, how it takes men time to get there. So younger women are at their peak, and then these older dudes are at their peak, and they're kind of doing that thing. And that is true, because it takes time for men to attain those values and those traits that the vast majority of women find attractive. And you guys got to compete with each other.
Well, I don't think women also get enough grace, where it takes time for us sometimes to value ourselves. It'd be really awesome in a perfect world. We're all raised with families who loved us, who stayed together. We got to watch a model relationship. But the reality is the majority of us have not got to see model relationships. The amount of normal dudes who I've met who are so great, but they're so fucked up because they watch their daddy cheat on their mom all the time, that they're worried if they're going to end up like their father and never be able to commit. It's crazy. Same thing with women who maybe their dads weren't around, or their moms always talked about how fat they were and how they had to look better, and it was all about their looks. So now their value and their sense of self-worth is based on, how do I look? And they don't develop a personality because that's how they were raised. So then they go into the dating world and they don't know the red flags and how to pick somebody good. Like, I don't think women are given grace as well in that red pill space to be like, hey, we're all trying to figure it out. At the end of the day, we all want love and we all want to come. And those things can happen together if we communicate and we work on our shit and we give people grace and allow that. I know so many good girls who just like their family life wasn't good for a little bit. I think that was my problem. All I knew was chaos, and that's all I knew. And in order for me to want to get better, I had to grow and like be self-aware. But that takes time, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it does take time, but the flip side of that, I've been with the good girls from the good families, right? The preacher's daughter. I've been with them too. And again, as an old dude, as the old Jedi who's fought too many battles, got all my scars, I'm here to tell you, there isn't much difference between the bad girl and the good girl. Not much difference at all. Oh, you had mom and dad in your life. They got all kind of issues because they had that silver spoon shoved in their mouth along with other things when they was little, right? They had issues. And just like the people from the hood, like us, we had to deal with what we had to deal with, right? So I think it's the net wash when we talk about those two things. Now we get into the dating world and we get into what men want, what women want. Women don't necessarily listen to men, and men don't necessarily listen to women. You could do like Michael Certain. I like Michael Certain's message, and I like the way he moves. You know, fuck what you say. I'm watching what you do. You feel me? So when I see a woman like you, you're a comic and everything, that's like, all right, cool. I know what's up. That's cool. You shared with me about your background and the way you came up. I'm like, all right, cool. She's really from the trenches like me. I get that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm like, I'm a black guy. You know what I mean? She's a white woman, but I'm hearing you. Like, okay, she didn't have it good, like maybe some of her counterparts did. She made something of herself. And then you made some decisions like, yo, got into sales, got into the corporate world, out there, you know what I mean, swinging with the big boys. They're like, I don't even want to do that, man. I really want to do this comedy thing. And I need to bring my family up out of the hole that we were born into. You didn't choose, you didn't dig that hole. You were born into it. I get it. Born into the same hole. We had to crawl our way out. So you went the OF route. All right, cool. But I think you went into that knowing that there's a downside to this. Like this sure. Is so you didn't go blind.
I don't have parents. I don't have I'm the matriarch. And so it's like, and I went into it. I was a 6-figure earner. I was a President's Club sales rep. I was a number 2 sales rep in my office multiple years in a row. I did the wholesome route. If you look at old pictures of me, I'm brunette. Like, I dressed modestly. I did the normal job. And you know what I realized? At the end of the day, everyone still fucking judges you. Everyone still has something to say about you, and it doesn't matter. If I can go make 20 grand in a month because I did a topless comedy set, at which people do for free in New York and in Chicago and all these other places, then who gives a fuck? My dad was a drug lord. I've been in the newspaper and bullied by adults since I was a child for who my family was. People weren't allowed to hang out with me. There's photos of me, front page of the newspaper. My sister's in the newspaper. My dad again. My dad's wife. Everyone went to prison. I was judged and I was looked at, and no one was paying my fucking bills while I was struggling. No one was doing any of that. So it's like, yeah, I went that route, and people were like, oh, well, you could have done this and this and this. And I was like, I did. And I struggled for years, even to get out of that hole. Even though I was a 6-figure earner, I was paying off debt from me putting myself into school. Like, and then I'm watching my brother and sister who they don't have the strength at the moment to pull themselves out of that hole like I did, because I was the oldest. And it's like, you know what? We're all getting judged anyways. I could die tomorrow. I'm going to take this and I'm going to help somebody. That's just like how I view it. And not everyone has the luxury of doing that, but I did it knowing I was like, I'm going to be judged. People are not going to respect me. I got it. I got all of the hate. People telling me I'm a whore. No man's ever going to respect me. Yada, 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 yada. And I've had great friendships and relationships since starting, you know, and it's actually helped me figure out who's really there for me as a human being versus people want you to fit in a box that they see you in.
They do. They want to put you in a box and make you more than, right? I get that. So
I'm not having
A lot
sex
of-
on camera, so I'm like,
that could be fixing the heartbeat. See that, and again, that's the difference between men and women. You can take care of that right now. I know dudes that jump in the car right now from Tampa, like, girl, I'll be there in 4 hours. They'll be out there like, you stay up, don't go to sleep. I've made that trip. I remember I had a female. I don't even remember her name. I barely remember her face. And I was, and that's, we're gonna get into that. But that was Cincinnati. I went from Cincinnati to Columbus. She went to school at Ohio State. I had met her 4 days before, and she gave me the car, like, come up here and get it. And I jumped in the car, rolled up. There's an hour and a half or whatever it was. Yeah, it was fun, and then came back. So women can do that, and just think. At that point in my life, I was running a rotation of 6 deep. She wasn't even in my rotation, and it was so hard to come by sex that a woman who could give me, and she was nowhere near as attractive as you. I mean, she was cute, but she was bigger. Not big. I mean, she was thick, what we would call thick. She wasn't like obese, but whatever. I was in the car, went up there.
I love the thick bitches. I'm like, give me that booty.
But the thing is, you made some decisions that you had to, that you know, I commend you for that. You know, will this affect your ability to get certain type of men? Yes. Does that mean, like, the part where they were saying they're calling you 3 or 4 and they say you're going to be lonely and forever? I don't agree with that at all. That's not the case, because you and I both know, if you wanted to be married tomorrow, there's a dude out there who will wife you up tomorrow. He just whatever, just based on you being pretty, just based on you being cool. Oh, you understand football. You're from Boston. Like that commercial, one of my favorite commercials. My cousin, somebody from Boston. It's funny ass commercial. But there's a dude out there, absolutely, that will be with you.
Where are they? Hit me up if you're watching this right now. Call me. Take me away from all this.
Be careful what you ask for, girl. They are going to blow up. Go ahead and put your I was gonna say put out your Instagram again, girl, because they will blow you up. They're out there now. You may not want these guys, and that's the biggest. I think that's the big point, and one of those big contention points when red pill guys are talking to women about this sort of thing. You know, Myron and Fresh aren't saying you're never gonna get a man if you're obese, or you're a sex worker, or you're making $300,000 a year. They're not saying you're not gonna get a man. What they're saying is you're gonna have a very hard time getting the guy you want.
And they're I mean, it's not wrong. I'm struggling. But you know what? Even before I did OnlyFans, I think I was struggling more. So
but not nearly as bad as those dudes, those invisible dudes out there. So I mean, we could leave that part there. What about pretty privilege? I mean, you are getting pretty privilege in the dating world.
I feel like I've gotten a lot of like people being like, well, people are intimidated by you, Jamie. I think I give off resting bitch face until you talk to me, and then I'm like a ball of sunshine. But until then, I'm like, and then so they're like, oh, this, I don't know. I feel like people are afraid to talk to me because I'm pretty. I also think that guys assume because I'm pretty, that now I'm getting all of this crazy attention. And I genuinely feel like I got more attention when I was bigger and didn't look like this. Because it's like it's easier to talk to me. It's not as scary. Does that make sense?
I guess for those dudes who are afraid, I'm a dude I've always had game. I'm a guy who, not that I'm some sort of womanizer or whatever I can be, but I can talk, and not just to women. I could talk. I mean, look what we do. Like we're podcasters, we're comedians. I know I've always been out there. I can get out there. I can network. I haven't been into sales until now. I'm just now kind of rotating into sales now that I'm retired, because, we're doing comedy shows, and now we're out there building sponsorship packages, and then we got to go sell them. So I'm like, man, I hate sales until I'm selling a product that I believe in. Now it's like, oh, I could do this. So, to hear that you were out there making 6 figures of sales, I'm like, damn. You know what I mean? You a player. You at that level.
I was a hustler, and I had no sales experience. I took Grant Cardone sales training. I studied every day. Like I was.
Man, how is it the Valuetainment didn't snatch you up? Girl, they probably watching this now. They're gonna want you on their team.
I don't know. I was on their sports podcast, and I'm pretty sure they did not want me on that. So as a woman, because I can't talk sports, And, you know, I just think there was a vision that maybe somebody wanted for that show that is less, I don't know. I'm not going to get into valuetainment, but
Because my thing
again,
is
if you can't see my value, it's not on me.
no, it's not on you. But their foundation is sales. Beyond the podcast stuff, like at the center of the machine is sales. Like that's what they do. They got some killer salespeople in there. But like you said, you walked away from that, so it is what it is.
I would literally probably want to kill myself if I had to work there.
If they go back to I mean,
no, not go back to sales, like work at value.
Oh, work there.
I'm more than happy to hop on a podcast, but I would never work there.
Ooh, okay. We'll say that for another day. You know what I mean? We'll get into that a little bit later. Brother Smee was like, when I was 19 to 22, I used to say I was 24 to 26 because the truth of my age gave me L's. Once I was magically older, I scored that Foxy Brown. So women do like older dudes, right? So all's fair in love and war.
Yeah. And like as you get older, it just keeps getting older. I remember my mom was really into like muscular, buff, bald men. And I used to be like, ew, mom, what the hell? They look so old. And now I like muscular, bit bald men.
Hey, like mom was on to something.
I literally was like, am I becoming my mother? Like, what's happening? I worked so hard to do the opposite.
Yeah, our priorities shift and we see what's really going on in this world. Like the sexual marketplace, that dating landscape is tough. That's why I refer to it as being in the trenches. It is war out there. It is tough on both sides. Wonderful 34 is like, yep, I'm a virgin. Can I get some help or do I have to help myself? Joking. Why so serious? Yeah, that's Marine. He got Marine humor. And Brother Smeebles, he's like, the issue with the man that would snatch her, he might not be exciting enough to last the long run or might not make enough to keep her current lifestyle. What do you think on that?
Yeah, so I think that is also like a fear men have of like, I might not be enough for what she's doing. And I think that that's like a fear stops us from talking to people. For me, if I'm making my own money, like I'm a hustler, like I know how to make money. I know how to hustle. I just want someone who like wants to talk to me and really find out how my day is. But so like my ex, normal dude, normal 9 to 5, makes like decent money. I'm a hustler and like I do entrepreneurship and entertainment. So like I'm constantly always having like little wins and like figuring out how I'm going to expand because I want to build an empire for my family. So I'd like to find a partner that's also aligned with that. I'm okay with that person not being there yet if they're willing to like work with me and have a partner and I see that they have like a drive and an energy and like a hustle about them. So it's less about like them not having the money to provide or keep up my current lifestyle. But my current lifestyle is literally me at home every day. At night, I go do stand-up. I occasionally do a networking event or like something that we're doing. And that's my lifestyle. What lifestyle are they trying to keep up with? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I might know cool people, but like, it's not like I'm in the club every day and traveling and going to crazy places all the time. And when I did that, I did it on my own money, but I don't have it now and I'm chilling at home. It'd be great to have someone chill at home with me. I don't need you to take me to Spain or Monaco or,
I'll take you to Paris, Texas. We can go out there and, do some cow tipping. But it's one of those things like it is hard for dudes. Technology in particular, social media, Instagram has really made it hard. Everyone's putting out their highlight reels. And
is that what you just want me to say? It's so hard for men. Guys, you have it so hard. It's going to be okay.
No, it's hard for everybody. My thing is, we talk about female nature. We talk about male nature. We talk about game on both sides. The point I was really trying to drive home, like, yeah, it's real hard for men. Men might have it a little bit harder, but it's hard for women too. And guys, the argument comes into play is like, well, if they lower their standards, they'll be able to do this, that, and the third. And my thing is like, man, go for what you want.
Yeah.
Men are the gatekeepers of relationships. Women are the gatekeepers of sex. It's never been easier, in my opinion, to get sex in this country. Never been easier. I mean, I got stories, girl. I'll tell you off camera. Like it's never been easier. But I'm seeing people have so many problems with their relationships and marriage. And then the women who do get married, I mean, you look at the divorce rates. Men are looking at that like, man, why go through that?
Yeah.
So I mean, there are issues out there. It's hard for both parties, like you said, but
Yeah.
You know, again, if the question is who is it harder for? Yeah, it's harder for dudes because most dudes are invisible. They haven't done the work. They're afraid to approach you. Of all of it, dude, if I saw you somewhere and if I was with some dudes that I was coaching or whatever, I would say go talk to her. Go over and introduce yourself to her. And yeah, I'm telling some other things too. I get pointers for for these dudes, so teach them how to get in and get out of conversation pretty quick. But you would be the woman to talk to because even if you're not interested, you're gonna be like, hey, I appreciate you coming over here, but I got someone, or I'm really having a bad time right now. Maybe later, as opposed to some woman blowing a whistle and calling the police. You know what I mean? Like spraying him with mace. Like it's
I'm like though those people. There has been bad things when a man has come up and a woman has rejected them if they don't take no, and so I get having to be on edge all the time, but I've seen a lot of situations where I'm like, this guy's not abusing you. This guy's not doing anything. He's just an innocent guy. And you're like, leave me alone. And then you're only going to be left alone. I think too, like what you look for, it's the red car theory finds you. Like if you're looking for a red car, you're going to see red cars everywhere. So if you're always thinking that women will reject you, then that's all you're going to get to. And I have to teach myself that too. Like sometimes I spiral and I'm like, well, I'm never gonna date somebody and all these thoughts, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna find somebody. When I get like a line like that mentally, I find it way easier to talk to people, or things naturally happen where I'm like, wow, I just met someone really cool organically because I was like open to receiving that.
You got to be open, like and everyone has boundaries. Like I don't mess with big girls. I don't mess with real big girls. Like if you like an obese woman, I'm not even trying to holler at you. I've never seen so many confident like obese women in my life. Like even they're getting it. They're getting it. They're getting it. Dudes are out there. I see them out with dudes like, whoa, Pookie and Ray Ray having a good night tonight. Got these big girls paying for dinner and all that.
I think guys also want girls with personality. They want someone who's going to care about them and make them feel desired and wanted. And I think, and then they go after these like supermodel girls who are just like, what can you do for me? And we all want, I don't know. I do have to
we want what we want
though. And I didn't realize it was 8:30. I have to go see my friend who was just in a car accident and bring him some bud.
He was in bringing somebody. He was in a car accident. So that's
it was like really bad. He was in one of those slingshots and a car came and hit him and his whole stomach is like black and blue and he like can't move. Damn. So I'm like, I'm gonna go bring you some stuff and check in.
You are a good friend, but most comics tend to be. You are a good friend. We didn't get into the politics or the economy, but just before you go, what is your take on the economy? There's a lot of people out there saying, people like George Gammon, people like Danielle DiMartino are saying that America is headed for hard times, definitely a recession, maybe even a little worse. A lot of layoffs and stuff like that. What does it look like on the ground in the trenches in Miami?
So I genuinely feel like people are living in like two different realities. There's like people who are just doing well and they don't even realize like how bad it's going. And then there's people who they feel the struggles and the ups and downs. I think sex work is a huge indicator of how the economy is going. And I'll tell you now, everybody's OnlyFans income is down overall, collectively on the board. Unless you have millions of followers and you're pumping out a ton of content and traffic, like it's hard to keep it up. It's definitely not the same that it was. And I'm seeing that decline for a lot of people. I'm also just noticing now that my money's down and I have to like pay attention to what I'm buying and budgeting and stuff. I'm like, holy shit, I just got 4 things at the grocery store and it cost me so much. And I was like, I can't even get any, it's not even close to what I used to be able to get for value. And I'm like budgeting everything and I'm like, it is really expensive to live here. You can't work just one job and minimum wage. Like you will literally be homeless. That's so sad. I think I don't even want to get into it. Fuck the elites and capitalism and all of this shit. And we're pawns in a game that's much bigger than this and war. And they want to pit us against each other for racial shit and whatever. While they make all these chess moves and they make money and we pay for it and it doesn't matter. Fuck them.
Hey, look, girl, don't speak too harshly on because we trying to get in there. Me and you gonna make it into the 1%. So don't jinx us now. Don't have them give us some hard time when we show up at the gates trying to get into the 1%. because you got to get there. And
oh yeah, the only way to get out of it is to play the game. That's like I said earlier in the thing is like sometimes you have to learn how to play the game to get ahead, but it's just important that you don't lose yourself in that. With the economy and everything, we went through the housing crisis, we went through all of these things, like it's the Great Depression. Like there's always moments in history where people have had to like figure it out. This is what makes or breaks you as a human being. Are you going to step up and be resourceful? Are you going to look at it as an opportunity? Or are you going to sit here and complain and be like, life is really hard? The more you complain that life is hard, it's going to stay hard. There's ways to do it. And that's how I got out of poverty. Like I literally used to have to keep my groceries at my corporate job and shower there because I had nowhere to go. And take town buses and do shit. I moved to college with trash bags and took a mega bus to another state. And that's how I got to and from college. Like you make shit happen if you really want it. And these are the moments that make or break people. Are you going to adapt or are you going to die?
100%. I appreciate that. We're going to have to do a part 2 or something because I definitely want to delve into that. And it's funny you mentioned OF because the canaries in the coal mine, when it came to economy, for me, were strippers. I would go and talk to my girls who work as dancers. I would go to like the hole in the wall strip clubs all the way up to like the high end ones. My business partner is one of the managers at one of the more established strip clubs, top tier. And I go in there and I talk to the girls like, what's the money look like? And they're like, bro, it's bad. So that is a really good point. And that's something that the talking heads don't talk about. So I guess they ain't in the trenches like us. But yeah, I always go there. And my people who are in the streets, the hustlers, the brothers out there doing their thing, their money's going up. So more and more people are looking to cope. Drug use is going up. So
I made the most money I ever made in like 2020 when everyone had the worst life because I saw it as an opportunity and I was in business and I was like, oh, this is when rich people get rich.
This is, they say when it's blood in the streets, that's when, like Patrick Bet-David says, when it's blood in the streets, that's when you can put a zero, you can earn a zero behind your net worth, increase your net worth by adding a zero if you do the work. So we're going to leave it there because you got to go take care of your friend. Give him my, my best wishes. Sorry, don't ride around in those are death traps, those little things.
I know. He rents them out. He's a comic too. And he rents them out. And I think he was like driving it from location and got sideswept. Fucked up.
Especially in Florida because people don't pay attention to nothing. And
no one has insurance here.
No one has it because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
They can't afford it.
Crazy. I have to move out of my apartment. Like my rent's not even like at a point where it's like if you're paying it, you're like, you're stupid.
I used to live in Brooklyn. I used to live in I lived in the Ivy. And I loved it. This was back from 2009 to 2012, 2013. I did for a moment. I moved out to Broward. I was in Miramar for a hot second. But I ain't gonna lie, I love Miami, but Miami is expensive. You can't be a broke and live down there. And it's not quite LA. I mean, LA is extremely LA, New York, San Francisco, that's a different level of expense. But for Florida, Miami's like a whole nother realm.
It's crazy.
So I want to give you a quick one shot so you can tell people where to find you. Scam Likely is like, oh, does she have a channel? Tell people where to find you so they can come over and support.
Yeah, you guys can find me, Jaime-Lee Simmons, on Instagram. It's the Jaime-Lee Show, JAIMELEE, the Jaime-Lee Show on all platforms. OnlyFans, topless comic. And then if you want to listen to my podcast where we do talk about mental health stuff, we have laughs, it's comedy, it's sex, it's life. That's Two Girls, One Blunt podcast. So, and let me know, DM me that you found me from here. So.
Yes, please, y'all do that. DM it when y'all find her. Make sure y'all like and subscribe over there. Do me a favor, girl. You gotta book me. I gotta do y'all show, man. Two Girls, One Brother, and a Blunt. That sounds like an adult film. Actually, is what that sounds like.
Yeah, I feel like every time a man comes on, they always make like a reference like that. They're like, two girls and me. That sounds like a party.
Do you see how our minds work? You see how simple it is, baby? It's real simple.
Yeah, I'm learning.
It's real simple. But I mean, yeah, if we can make that happen. I'm supposed to be in Miami on the 15th, but we got this show on the 22nd. So I don't know if I'm gonna make it because that's gonna be the week before. I gotta really be promoting.
I think both Emily and I are out of town. I'm going to LA, and then she's I think going to Tulum, maybe.
She's going to Tulum. Okay.
Yeah, her friend does like a birthday trip.
Okay. I'm not mad at that. So I'm so glad you were here. Oh, go ahead. What'd you say?
I'm not either. I'm just jealous.
Yeah, I know, girl. Hey, Tulum, damn. And we got to get you back to Tampa to do some comedy. We have the venues, girl. Let me know when you're ready. My partners reached out to you. Darren he told me he was reaching out to you. He was going to talk to you about some stuff. Darren, the comedy arc, he said he did, or maybe he put it on his list, but maybe he's behind because we're setting up this show. But he said he's going to reach out to you. But you know, I'm gonna stay in touch with you. We got to get you up here to do one of these shows. You saw the venue. We got more venues for you. We get up here and make some money, girl. Thank you so much for doing this show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I had fun. It was a good chat.
It was a good chat. Brother Smeebles, I know you have some more stuff, man. We couldn't read your chats, man, because she has to go. But next time we're gonna read them. I did show them. And I'll see you. I'll talk to you later, Smeebles. And Sister Jamie, thank you. I'll talk to you later as well. If you need anything from me, all you got to do is hit me up and we will make it happen.
I appreciate that.
And tell your girlfriends who trying to find some dudes that I got coaching. I'll hook them up. I'll show them. I'll tell them what to look for. I'll tell them how to see the game.
How about you direct the good ones my way?
We'll work on that. You know what I mean? We can work on that. You know what I mean? I might find a couple good ones, but hey, we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll cover that on the next show.
I'm teaching them game. I'm not teaching them to get married. Whatever, it's fine.
The game, if you know the game, then you can find the guys and weed them out to get married. That's why you need to be up on game. We'll talk about it. So, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm DL Saint. This is the lovely Jaime-Lee Simmons. And we are done. I'll see you guys Friday. I don't do Friday shows. So I guess I'll see you guys on Monday. I'm not doing a Friday show. Friday, Saturday, I don't do it. I'll see you guys Monday. We out of here. Peace.
Bye.
Nothing like I've ever seen. It's just a thing of beauty.
Darn, that's the end.